Welcome, everybody, to episode 7 of the Reptile Rejects podcast. Tonight, our guest is Owen McIntyre, and it should be a great show.
The
All right,
one and
gentlemen.
only Mac and Wookie. Yeah.
I do have to thank Chuck for that nickname that will now follow me till I die.
I think it's a
So
classic. It's
I
it's
think it's
beautiful.
it's stuck there. Yeah, it helps if you just don't fight these things rather than just fighting them makes it worse. So yeah, sure, works for me.
So,
So
and
but
great to have you on. The way
yeah,
we start our podcast usually is just talking about what's new with each of us. I think everybody's heard your story, all that kind of stuff. So let's just go with what's new with you. We haven't heard you on a podcast in a little while. What's new in the
what's
collection?
new right now? Well, in the collection, nothing. There's nothing new in the collection. I haven't gotten anything brand spanking new as far as animal wise, except for maybe I think I got a corn snake yesterday. To add to my massive corn snake thing that I got going on here. But as far as new for me, what's going on here in the season, um, I currently am hatching Cali King eggs, and I got my first clutch of Arizona Mountain Kings that are hatching. So it's a new species for me that I get to cross off my little list here. So that happened, and then I have a couple more clutches. False water cobra, Vietnamese blue beauties, and speckled king snakes and blonde Madagascar hognose that are still cooking. But then on the python front, we're done with those for the year, but I haven't gotten anything new right now. No new projects with them yet.
uh, with the king snakes,
Mm.
it's one of those more snakes that you seem to always keep and have around in your collection.
Yep.
Why, and weren't they the first snake you bred?
They were my first. So I kind of backdoored into snake breeding. My roommate in college was Chris Foley, from Cold Blooded Cafe and stuff like that. If you know who he's doing scrubs and things like that. So he introduced me to snakes by, I think we used to sneak in like his leucistic Texas rat snakes into the dorm. And like we go to Hamburg and come back and he'd gotten like 5 monocle cobras that we just kept in the dorm for the night. And then he took them home and stuff like that. So that all happened. But through that is when I got my first snake. Like my first snake was a smooth scale green, which was just a death sentence to a species that niche and things like that. So my second one was a Cali King, and at my college you could do a special project in the animal labs and stuff like that to get credits and a grade. And they wanted to have they had a small reptile room and they would expand it. So the college let me buy a bunch of Cali Kings, put them in their reptile room, breed them, monitor and track all the egg stuff, hatch the babies, write a report of breeding California king snakes, and they gave me credit. So my first clutch was part of that project, was those Cali Kings that I hatched in an incubator that was like way too scientific and expensive to do just California king snake eggs, that you could have literally just put in a shoebox on a shelf in like the office of the laboratory. So I did all that, wrote this giant ass paper, and then towards the end of it, they kept one of the Cali Kings that was involved in the project, a black and white male, and then all the other Calis came home with me. So I had like 6 or 7 California king snakes at that point. And this is when I was starting to grow. Like I only had like 2 carpet pythons at that point, but then it just kind of started to change the other way. So I've never really been without Callies. There's been a couple times where I just happened to work out that way, but there was the ones I keep coming back to. So they're a fun species to just kind of have. Babies come out raging and ready to roll, and who doesn't love a California king snake? So
Yeah, they're super neat. I think they're
yeah.
super underrated, and honestly, they've been barely talked about on podcasts and stuff. Like you see them at every show, like at least a handful,
Mm-hmm.
but like you never really see people deep. Like you see a couple people like deep dive into them. Like I know, like even just a classic 50-50 black and white
Mm-hmm.
Cal King is just a solid animal. But then you got like lavenders, you got chocolates, you got
Yep.
those really mint looking like high white reverse stripes that just like every
Yep.
time you see one, whether they're I think a few years ago that people were trying to get a few $100s for them, but I know sometimes they're only a $75 snake, but they're just a solid snake that can live for 25 years
Mm-hmm.
and eat anything, as Eric's dad has shown.
Yes, when you're like, I'd go outside and knock a sparrow on the head and throw it in there. It's like, please stop telling us this. But I like right now I currently have, this has been a while since I've had this many Cali Kings. But right now I got a pair of black and whites. I have a trio of lavender albino stripes, and I have a pair of mosaics. And even walking through shows like I did on Saturday, like a high white will still kind of blow your socks off. And it's just like, I really should just go get some high whites. And then it's like, yeah, well, maybe not this time, but maybe next time or something like that. So there's always that whole aspect. And being that I've done that, a lot of my Colubrid stuff ends up just becoming wholesale to pet stores, dealers, things like that. Having a pair of Callies, you can't go wrong with it. They'll always eat, they'll always breed. And I'm not the kind of guy that double clutches. I like to just get one and then not kill the female. So it's good to just kind of have a couple. Like I got 10 Cali King eggs. So yeah.
I gotta ask, just by curiosity, what do you do to stop them from double clutching?
Separate them.
Yeah, but won't girls still just produce anyway?
Some will. Usually what happens is that if I separate them, it's like 9 times out of 10, nothing happens. But every once in a while you get one overzealous female who will lay slugs, or she'll even lay like 6 slugs and 3 viable.
Yeah, partially fertile, yeah.
Yeah. Which, okay. And then it comes down to, if she does double, now you gotta kind of keep your eye on her if your intention was to breed her next year. Usually though, they might ovulate and blow up, but in the presence of the male, they'll just reabsorb. So you kind of got to hope that they didn't retain any sperm to continue on down the road of a double clutch. But even then, you still get some overzealous females. But I had one corn snake that would do that, and she did it twice. And then now she's kind of back into this rhythm where she only ovulates and breeds once a year. And the same thing kind of happened with my black rat snake. She used to give me like 10 eggs and then like 6 eggs or something like that. And now she just drops one clutch of like 20. And then that's it. Like, so it's just one thing. The other thing you could do is also try to stagger it. Like a lot of times you do, if you're going to try to double, you try to get the first clutch in so you have time for a second clutch around this time. If you just kind of delay pairing until you kind of get a little bit further, then you might only get one clutch, because then it just might be the time the season has progressed and things like that. By the time she's laid and now might be start ovulating again, you're feeding, she's not really kind of going through those kinds of things. So, but a lot of times it's almost like a rush job, and I never really liked that. Or it's like I try to rush to get the one, and I got to rush to get the second one in before you're feeding and looking down at putting them down for brumation and stuff like that again. So
makes sense. Sorry, just one more about that topic. So just like carpets or any pythons, right after they lay, you tend to start packing on the food, right? So my thinking is, how bad do those girls look after they lay, whether it be your black rat or your kings? And if you start feeding them on, aren't you just feeding and telling them there's food so that you're going to double clutch? Like I can kind of see I want to get this female better, but then you're pushing her to double clutch at the same time.
Well, you don't feed heavy. So when they come out of brumation, you feed heavy. So that they've gone a couple months without food, and then you kind of feed heavy, and then it's not like the size of the food changes, it's just how often you give it. So after she lays, if you're trying to panic and pack on food or trying to double, you would feed her like you just pulled her out of brumation. So it's like almost twice a week if you really wanted to go crazy here. But if you're just feeding her because now she's done with her clutch, you just feed her normal size, normal timing, because she's got 3-4 months before she's got to go down for brumation again. So it would just be that, and they will recover well. And that's why it's such a kick in the pants when you're not planning for a double and she does it anyway, because you fed her normal and now she has started you back at square one, and you have maybe a month or less to get her ready for down in I usually say October, but it's never October anymore because of the weather. Usually just put down in November because it's never cold enough here in October like it used to be. So it's usually stop feeding on Halloween, and then everybody goes down on Thanksgiving because it's just the way it's easy to just go by holidays. So
Yeah, I found with my pine snake, I just kind of with my Kentucky pine, I just kind of trust the process. Don't pack too much food on, but like you just like they're gonna eat every time, so you just after breeding or after she lays, you just pack her own food. She's gonna be huge by the time. Well, not too obese, but not even obese, but like she's gonna get the weight back after she lays her massive clutch of eggs, and then next spring she'll be ready to go again. Anyways, yeah.
There's certain ones you just don't have to care about, like my false water cobra. It's fine. She'll be fine.
Did those double clutch for you?
They never double clutch for me. My female's good for about 16 to 20. I think in theory you could, but I've never tried. But she's one of those ones where I don't need to worry about her losing weight, packing on food, or being anything other than the monster that she is. So
Zach Losman talks about how he double clutches his, even not purposefully. So they definitely do.
There you go.
Yeah, I was on the phone with him this week, and he was like, "Oh yeah, she dropped. Her second clutch was big. It was like a couple more eggs bigger than the first one, so she ended up with like 65 eggs this year. Something insane.
I don't need 65 false water cobra eggs.
Just too many.
I'm really glad I have like 20 because I can cherry pick if I really want to. Out of 20s, I can take 5 and wholesale to somebody here and 5 to wholesale to somebody here. And then I got 5 myself to play with it. There's kind of like ways you can break that down where you're not 64 false water cobra deep because they grow on oxygen. And then you also have other animals that are laying eggs that, it's hard when you have babies that are in like little 5-quart bins that are just now starting to get big enough that you want to push them out onto a 15, and then 64 false water cobra babies happen, and it's like they need to start in the 15s, which means these guys have to stay over here, and it's like you're playing musical chairs and hustling all over the place. That's kind of why I have so many racks that can do the 32 or the 215s, just because I'm constantly like changing stuff around. And them and like olive python babies, it's like, well, all right, it hatched and can take a large mouse immediately. Like it's hard to kind of, I like having a little bit, like 20 of each is fine. When you start getting into like 64, 200, it's like, and with things like carpets, it's like you can have 20 jungles, 20 coastals. Like I'm not talking like I've been in that point where I had 50 something normal coastal carpet pythons. And they just sit forever. So variety is good. So,
except jungles. Jungles, you can never have enough. Those always sell.
Yeah.
Oh, for me, anyway.
For you, yeah. I mean, there's spoken like a true jungle guy. Like, yeah, of course.
I'm actually not a jungle guy. I'm actually a coastal guy. But
okay.
But some reason, I'm telling you, jungles are always. I never have enough.
I had my coastal card revoked recently. That Ish took it from me. Apparently, I said too many nice things about Papuan pythons, so which I didn't know Ish was in charge of such things. But I will deal with that later.
Well, how about we bring on your Python card into question? I got to ask you: are you a Colubrid guy or are you a Python guy? Because we're 14 minutes in yet, and I just heard the word Python right now.
I mean, we can talk about the Python clutches. I mean, if you want to bust out the Python resume, we can bust out the Python resume. But, I only had 2 clutches this year just from unforeseen circumstances with multiple freaking pairings. But I got a clutch of caramel albinos. And then I had a clutch of jungles that every egg went bad but one. So she's mine, and you all don't get to see her until I'm ready. So
I guess that counts.
Yeah, it does. It's one baby counts. So But that was this year. But next year, I'm looking at 2 olive python clutches, the 2 olive python females to go. We're going to try the Dunai again. Roughies, she looks fantastic, and so does the girl below her. So we're going to give them a shot for 2 of them. And my males have definitely put on size, which is good. Then gold white lips, blacks need another year. Timor pythons, scrubbies again. I think I'm looking down the barrel of about 6 or 7 carpet python clutches of varying stuff. Rainbow boas again, but those aren't pythons. Yeah, no, I think that's it for the pythons with that kind of stuff. So it's going to be like, and then I think I have like 6 or 7 bread-like clutches.
So I got to ask you, so you're in the same area of, well, you're in Philadelphia, right?
Somewhat. About an hour outside of Philadelphia.
Okay, so I think you're about like 5 hours south from me, but you're in the east side, right? So we're somewhat same temperature. I'm a little colder than you, but somewhat same temperature. How was your season this year? Did you find it a worse season? Did you find it a better season? I've been hearing a lot of different things. I can tell you my season was I produced 7 clutches instead of 15 like last year. So to me, it was like okay season, but definitely far from my best. How about you?
I would say that it was kind of an okay season. I know some other people have had a little bit more success. I had one male that was, I had a weird year because I had a male that was going to be paired with 2 females, get sick during the whole thing. He's fine now, but that threw off like 2 clutches, which is like, that happened. So, but it's been a weird year because normally I would get about 4 or 5 python clutches without even trying. This is also a weird year of I had a lot of first timers. Like this was their first go, and their first go went as you would expect. It was their first go. Sometimes you get lucky and they're like, I know what to do. And other times you get like this where the male is like, get me the fuck out of here. And that happened with 2 of my pairings also. So it just kind of happens. But I do think the West Coast had a better year this year, which I know Lucas was hitting the cover off the ball and there were a couple other people out there. But I also know that Eric Kohler, who's about 3-4 hours west, still in Pennsylvania, he had a pretty good year. But he had some weird stuff too. Like I'm not 100% sure he got Gila monster eggs. I haven't spoken to him yet, but usually they go every year for him. So sometimes you have a weird season like this, and then next year is the one where everything clicks in again, and then you end up overbreeding, or you're like, oh, I'm going to shoot for more, and instead of that 15, you get like 20, and it's like okay, but. I mean, I got a litter of rainbow boas for the first time this year, so that was cool.
Yeah, how was that? A little better than the Dominicans and the Colubrids?
No, well, I mean, all right, those babies ate compared to the Dominican boas. The rainbow boa babies are much better. They ate mice and stuff right off the bat, no scenting. But I was constantly waiting for the boa babies, and it was like, she should have had them by now. Like she should have had them by now. And it was she's huge. She's big as a freaking house, and she's thick, and it's hard. It's like, what else could be going on in there? And then she ate, and I'm like, well, I have no idea what's happening. So like, clearly she's reabsorbed. There's no babies. So we're not going to get shit. And then right when I got to the point where I had fully given up, there's no chance in hell. And then there were 8 babies running around the cage. I'm like, well, okay. So now I know for this time, how long it takes. It's just this whole thing.
How long do you think it did take? Do you know when she ovulated or had her ovulation shed?
I have it all written down, but I want to say that I had her pegged at that it would take it's like 70 days, and I think she ended up going closer to like 80 or something like that. So it was like almost a whole nother month than I expected.
Like 180 days?
Something like that. It was, yeah. I have to look at it again. I don't know off the top of my head, but it was trying to get my snake egg brain wrapped around the fact that they're doing all that inside. So yeah, it was like trying to piece it out. Like I really should have just marked it all down, but yeah, it was a while.
Yeah, we just had Bill Hughes on a couple weeks ago again, because I really enjoyed your guys' episode from 10 years ago with him. And he talked about how his Sanzinia or other boas, when they're about to drop, they'll eat. they'll eat for a couple meals and then they'll drop. So it's like a telltale sign that they're actually just about to drop.
That was the weird thing is she ate like 2-3 times in a row, and then she went all food again, which is like again she's just like throwing like me for loops and stuff like that. But then she ended up having the babies, and then immediately went right back on the food. So
Yeah,
no, they were
my female Canyon just was it she I, like she's definitely gravid. She went off food for a month or two, and she's eaten a couple times, but then now she's like kind of weird about eating. Like if she bites it and then lets go, then it's like, nah, I'm not gonna eat it.
mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
so she's kind of weird where she'll like eat, go off, sometimes go back, and then go off again. Sometimes boas are just weird.
I think all that stuff with feeding for gravid or pregnancy and stuff like that those are guidelines. You're always going to have an animal that's just like the weird one. I've had coastals eat a large rat the day before they lay eggs just because they were interested. And then I've also had ones who have eaten while coiled around eggs. Like they sometimes they just kind of right there and they're just eating machines. I've had animals go from like shy feeders where you got to drop it and walk the hell away to being up front in your face ready to go. And it's like I kind of find that once they become in your face almost, they've kind of settled that they don't see you as too much of a threat anymore. They're just the food monkey, which is how you end up getting success from shy species and stuff like that. You know, my Dunai, I never saw them eat. Now they both come towards me. So now I'm hopeful for this coming year that they've both put on more size and kind of are getting into the routine and maybe not want to be as shy, and maybe I'll get some eggs this year. So
Yeah, I was going to say this. Go ahead, Nick.
No, you go, Dominic.
I was just going to say the same thing with me. I've got some snakes that most of them all follow the recipe, but you've got always the weird ones. I was going to say I have some that I've eaten the day they laid. I have some that instead of laying at the 21 to 28 days, always lay at 46, 47 days, which is not normal. But the fun thing is once you get all those weirdos that don't do what they should do, they do the same weird thing every year. So at least you know what to expect and you know exactly where to go from there. So I have all those that do what they shouldn't be doing, but after that, that's their normal. Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think with my it's cool to also notice when like you almost know like with the subox, and people sometimes are unsure when to pair up those guys because they're such late breeders for colubrids. Like they'll breed in May or June, and the males go off food, and then the females kind of go off food, and then something's probably you should probably start pairing them when the male just hops off of food, and then gets same with the pine snakes. My male pine, I can get him maybe a couple meals in, and then it's pairing time, and he doesn't want to eat anything for a couple months.
It's weird because I knew when to pair the roughies because we were doing a show and we're talking and they're set up behind me, and all I can see is my male just like doing this up against the glass, like just the entire 2-hour long show. It's just him doing this. And I'm like, all right, show ended. I chucked them in there. They were locked within an hour. So it's like, they'll tell you, like I've had pine snakes where the female was on the bottom and then above her cage were the two males. And for a while, the males were just running grooves in the front of the cage. Like the mulch had moved back because they were just pushing and trying to get out and doing all this stuff. And that was even after I had already paired them. Then she laid eggs. And I, of course, like I'm pushing the mulch back. And then the next day it's all back forward and stuff like that. The second she laid the eggs, I pushed the mulch back. It stopped getting moved. So like it was done. Like they'll click in. It's like they tell you. This year, I separated the Arizona Mountain King snakes after, right when she laid and stuff like that. And she had about 4 slugs, one normal and one slug that was like huge, really long. That's kind of concerning. And I'm like, all right, you're done. But I know she ovulated because the male who was set up below her was going nuts for like 2 weeks straight and was not eating, was just kind of trying to move around. And then a week or so later, he's settled, he's eating, he's back to doing stuff. So it's like missed the window and we're done. So sometimes you just got to watch the boys and they'll tell you what to do.
So one of the subjects I definitely want to hit is you brought on the roughies there.
Yep.
I've got a trio. My trio
Mm-hmm.
are 2021. So I've got two girls. One's a good 6+ feet. The other one's about 5.5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
They're good girls, and obviously it's my first year that I'm going to be doing them. And I'd love to go through. How did you do it? What did you do? Did you do everything the same as your carpet
So
pythons? Did you do anything different?
it's going to, I didn't do anything
Or
different.
or maybe we start with the story,
The story.
the
Well,
story
which,
behind what got you into
what got
them,
me the roughies?
and maybe
Well,
like how you got at some of your struggles with them, because I
okay,
know
well,
that's its own thing
it's
in
a
itself.
wonderful little dick punch. Yeah. The story with the roughies is like they were always one of those things that like I was told you could not have, which is a terrible thing to tell a herper. Because back in the days of Morelia Python forums, they had little tabs of all the different species and subspecies and things like that. And there was maybe like a handful of Aussie keepers that would post pictures of the rough scale pythons. Terry would post them that were out in the reptile gardens and stuff like that. And it was like, this is a forbidden fruit kind of a thing. And I love the story with Mark O'Shea and finding them and all that stuff. And I remember watching a video of Brian Barczyk going over there and getting just lit up by one, like biting him all down arms. And he's so excited that he's holding it that he's just like letting it, like he's bleeding everywhere and he doesn't care, which, yeah, I would probably do the same. But then the first two that I got were both males because I was that desperate for them. I didn't care that they were both boys. And I traded some super caramels and some tigers to some guy who told me that he got his from breeder stock from the LA Zoo, which is a hella wrong. That never happened. And I got in trouble from the LA Zoo for saying that. So, but he traded me two boys and he sent them from California to here in a box with hand mitten warmers during a blizzard. And like I tried to stop him and he's like, oh, they're already there. I'm like, well, then hold them at the FedEx facility. This is before the days of ship your reptiles, red line shipping, where there's like a person I'm going to call and they're going to figure this out. You have to call FedEx and fight with them. I kept missing them. And they arrived at the office I was working at. It was just me and my dad. And they were cold to the touch. They were stiff. And I'm like, they're dead. They're dead. They have to be dead. And I had a Fuji water bottle, those like rectangle ones. I filled it up with hot water and I put it on my desk because I thought they were dead, but then one did the threat display. And I'm like, holy crap, they're still here. So I had on my desk the two of them coiled, almost like a chondro, sitting on this hot water bottle, just staring at me, checking me out for hours, and then slowly start tongue flicking, start moving around. I had brought my own shipping boxes with a bunch of heat packs and I got them set up. And those were my first two boys. One, I let go to Nick after I got females because I realized I had like, I think it was at that point I had two boys and like one girl. And I'm like, I can spare to let one go. And Nick takes the one male and has fantastic success breeding him and gets a bunch of baby roughies. In the meantime, the boy I kept got a tooth infection in the front of his fish hooks. And that eventually became something that I ended up losing him. But then after that, it was like chasing the pairs. It was like I had to get a boy. And then I got a boy. And then I had a girl. And then I need another one. Well, I got another boy. And then something happened with this one girl. The one girl had cancer. And she died, and then I have two boys again. It's like, well, shit. So it was constantly doing that again. And then I ended up getting some from Dave D. And then I got two other ones from a guy, Josh Swetzel. He was out in Chicago, and I got them there. And that's the adults that we have behind me, those four. And then for breeding, I just followed the normal carpet temperatures, and I allowed them to get a little bit warmer during the daytime, and it was just monitoring them. And then it was just pairing. One male was right up front, locking with the female immediately. The other one was secretive, and I wasn't expecting the second clutch. But obviously the same type of season that a carpet python would have. You drop down the same amount of time. It's not like a bredli where you have to be like, and now it must go lower. It's carpet python temps all the way. They might eat throughout. They may not. My roughies, I find, except for my one female, except for her, she'll eat. I could set her on fire and she'd be looking for a rat. But some of the other ones, if it gets kind of weird temperature wise, they just refuse. They can go a surprisingly long time between feedings. And also kind of they'll switch up what they really want. My one male is the strict quail feeder, which is fine because quail come in a ton of sizes and you're a male. So I don't care. Like, you get to a certain length and size, you're good. She's doing all the work. You're not. But then it was just pairing up and getting the eggs. I think the first clutch, because it was a wide thing where I think the first clutch was coming out of the incubator, or the second clutch was going into the incubator as the babies were coming out from the first clutch. It was a huge kind of gap between. So just see the exact dates here. Because the good thing about Instagram is that when you freak out about your clutches and take pictures, it'll tell you when that happened.
So you had a 2.2, right? Did you use each male separately to each female, or did you not risk it and swap the males out to say who cares who the parents are?
The intention was to do one male per female, but my one male freaked out and he's a little bit on the smaller side. So I kind of gave him the backseat, and it was the same male for the both clutches. Like, I just pinged him, which is probably why there's such a huge gap between the clutches, is because he was with one girl, and then by the time I got him into the next one, it was over. Yeah. So my first clutch hatched on June 30th. And then the second clutch was laid on July 17th. So early and late. Apparently there is no kind of a thing. But that's what I'm going to shoot for this year, because I got my younger, smaller male has now put on a ton of size, and I have a smaller girl. So he's going to go with her. She gave me 10 eggs as opposed to the first female that gave me 16. So larger male is going to go with the larger girl. Smaller male is going to go with the smaller girl, and we'll see what happens. If the smaller male is still acting like he doesn't want to do it, we have the backup of the second larger boy. And then I have my yearlings, which were from which are the 23s, and they're coming up quick. So we're going to add more cages here.
How many did you hold back?
I held back 1.1, one female, the female from one clutch, the male from another one. So, like, it matters. Like, they're all
from
all
5
clones
snakes?
all from 5 snakes that lived in a gorge that are clones of each other. Like, it's okay, fine. It makes me feel better, but it doesn't matter. But yep. So currently right now we're sitting at 3.3.
Not bad at all. How about incubation? Anything differently for incubation, or same thing as every other pythonic?
Same thing. Didn't even change the temp in the incubator, and they went this normal carpet python temps, carpet python white lip. Yeah, the same thing. They totally the same thing.
And 51 to 54 days, all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you leave the eggs with the female just for 5-6 hours just to get the dimples on them and the weird?
The first clutch only because I was tweaking out, and when I found her, she was like, it's not. I've been accused of being a helicopter parent, and for the roughies, I've been accused of being a helicopter parent like times 20. So when I found her, she was in the middle of laying, and I took the pictures and kind of screamed and ran around. And then I was told, I was told to not touch her and leave her be and go to breakfast with my wife and go. And then when we return, I can review where we're at. And of course, I'm like there trying to do this because I want to get back to the house and see what's going on. And the entire time I'm like twitching. But I didn't notice a pattern or anything like that. Like I think because by the time we came back, she had them and she was perfectly coiled. But she's also not the nicest of females. So I want to say that like doing battle, I didn't realize that I could have. I just wanted the eggs. Like I don't care. But I didn't see. So I'm tempted to let it happen again this year because I think Terry did it this year. And I think he had an impression on some of his. So.
I'm wondering if it's something like you need to leave him for like 12 hours or something. Because
because they do kind of sure up.
Yeah, I didn't do it with, well, I've never bred Roughies, but I bred Angolans twice, and I never saw any marks or anything on the eggs either. And I mean, they've got not the same scales. They're not, I find
Something.
they're bumpy, but they're not as bumpy. But I didn't see anything either.
But I've seen those kind of stuff on like pine snakes, something that have pronounced veins or ridges or something on those clutches because that one egg just happened to be pressed up against mom in a corner, but it's never there for the entire incubation. It's like it's there, and then the next day when the shell kind of shures up a little bit more, it's gone. So I don't know if it's like if you allowed her to incubate those eggs the entire go and this one outer egg was up against a coil just every time, would there be an indentation? I want to say there probably would be, and that'd be something cool to see. And then like you'd see it and the baby would hatch, and then when the egg deflates, it's gone. Like it's just becomes a hard leather snake egg again. So
did you have any trouble with getting the baby started, or were they still like typical carpet kind of tricks to do it? Or
they were I was nervous as hell because I was trying to figure them out, and I was prepping myself for like chondro nightmares. Like I was ready. Jason Hood bred button quail, and I got a bunch of baby button quail. I was ready for that, but if you attack it like you would any kind of python clutch, it's like first thing goes. All right, well, I'm going to try unscented mouse hoppers. I got 2. Cool. 2 out of 16. Fine. Next time you guys get your hoppers, I don't need to worry about you. Then I have these other ones. So I'm going to offer you guys chicks or fuzzies with chick down. I got 1. Okay, fine. Next time you guys get your hoppers, you guys get your chick down. We're going to try something else with you guys. And it was like live. Well, I got 2 more. And then after that, it was, okay, button quail. And everybody else I got on button quail. It was funny watching, because the other thing is you also offer the fuzzies and hoppers to see if you can get another one each time. But it was watching their interactions where it's like they're not gauging the fuzzy. They're not looking at the fuzzy. They don't care. But then you lower the button quail in there and they slowly turn their head. Like they just, all of a sudden, they don't give a shit. And now they do. And then they go on the button quail. So it was trying to find what they want. And I imagine it's the same thing that people do with like hognose, where it's like nothing toad scent. Well, now it's paying attention. So I thought it was going to be worse than it was. It just was trying to find what worked. And what worked was button quail.
Yeah,
sounds like Lucas should send his diamonds to you. Send you a box full of diamonds to get started.
Yeah, it's the baby button quail. It's a bird the size of a hopper. And then I even went further. I have fertilized quail eggs that were pulled before they reached a certain type or certain point, so I can bust it open and there's a baby bird covered in wonderful, delicious yolk stuff that, like, I haven't used them yet, but like that's my silver bullet. Like when it comes down to that, like if somebody refuses the button quail, I got those too.
Can you freeze that and then break it when you're ready?
Yep.
That's kind of cool.
Yep. They're just a gallon baggie full of frozen eggs.
So
thaw it out and there you go.
Yeah, I was a big fan of trying like just doing frozen thawed pinky rats to start with and all that. But you know what? This year and probably for 2 years now, honestly, I find the best thing is ASF. Frozen thawed ASF, I get about half of mainly all carpets, and then whatever doesn't eat after a couple of feedings, then I'll go live ASF. And at that point, more than 80% of all animals take live ASF.
Mm-hmm.
And then after 2 or 3 meals, I switch them to frozen thawed rats, and I have no more issues.
Yep.
So
I think I have a bag of African sulfurs for when I get.
they're
Yeah.
amazing.
I think it was my Angolan like those, my male.
You had
When I
issues
got
with the
him.
Angolans?
He came to me small, or he came to me as like a 2-year-old, and he was eating mice, and then he was like, and he's kind of doing this, kind of doing that. And then a couple African sulfurs, and he's just like, now he's just rolling. Still doesn't really like taking rats, which is fine. He's a male. I can get ex-breeder mice, which are the size of a weanling rat anyway. But they were another one that this year when I paired, I thought it was going well, and then the female tried to kill him. So it was probably not going as well as I thought. So
I've never heard of Angolans trying to murder each
neither had
other.
I until she had him in, her mouth and was wrapped around him.
You certain you got the right sexes there? I gotta ask.
Yep. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yep. We probed and did all that, so it's a girl and a boy.
Yeah, and they're easy to probe.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Because I bred my Angolans like a carpet python, just a typical, and the only thing I've noticed is we've bred them. I have a trio, and they only go every 2 years. Each female has gone twice, and each of them have always skipped a year. So
might just be she never turned off of food, and she's one of those ones that even if I'm thawing out a pinky, there's nothing live in that cage but her. Otherwise, she will take it. So now he just gets pulled every time anything in the room is eating, and we'll give it a little shot next year.
Nice. With the roughies, you got them right now. You have them set up, I'm assuming, right in front of you in 4-foot cages.
Those are threes. Threes.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you have like a dream setup that you want to do with them eventually, like in your living room or just in your office, even like maybe slightly bigger or something? Maybe
I like
do
them
a
up here.
fake rock outcrop or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I like them up here. I'd like to get something. If say I were to move and have more space, I'd probably try to give them a little bit bigger of a thing, something a little bit taller. They do spend a lot of time in the ceiling hides and then spread off on their branches. There's one kind of laying across a branch right here. So, and then the other one I think is just kind of, the two are just gone. But it's I'd like to give them something that I can kind of check them out. I like the idea of taller when it comes to them, maybe one of those like big cabinet stuff. The idea for the next 3 cages here is to add pass-throughs if I wanted to, so that if I wanted to when breeding, it now becomes a 6-foot cage. I do that with the Team Wars and the White Lips. So, but maybe we'll consider that when things happen. For right now, though, that's all we can kind of fit back there.
when you say your pass-throughs, are you using like toilet drains? I don't know if you know what I mean, like the large like pipes that are like, I think they're 4 inches, 5 inches wide with the screw on top. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, those are that's what I have for the Timors. It's the 4-foot
Drain something.
4-inch, 4.5-inch thing where you can put a cap on it and twist. I like those, but then also now there's
these caps.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. There's also now I looked at one. There's like air vent things for dryers that it's a black flat square with a little thing you can open and close that kind of goes up and down. And it does kind of have a part that's attached because it's supposed to like go into your wall and then connect to tubing that goes to your dryer. So it does kind of have like also a pass through. Like I don't like because there's a million things you can do to put on the wall to make a hole. And then if you kind of line it up, you can put on another one. But I don't like the idea of there being a gap between the cages because I imagine any snake is going to be like, but what if I want to do this? And then they couldn't get anywhere, but it makes me nervous. So I like the idea of the caps with the pipe because then it's a completely sealed bridge. They go in and they can go nowhere but forward into the other cage or sit in the tube.
How long is that bridge?
Not very long. I mean, it doesn't like stick out into the cage too far. So I want to say like with the cap on either end, the pipe does go into the caps. So I wouldn't say it's too big, but the dryer vents, I haven't gotten my hands on them one yet. So I don't know how far they go into each other or how that would connect right. So I have to do more with that. But I want to say that the bridges themselves are only maybe about 6, 7 like inches.
So the reason I'm
Something like that.
asking is, so my bridges, I've got the same connection with every cage is connected. So and I
Mm-hmm.
put a cap on top and bottom, but they're sitting right on top of each other, like you're saying. But the cages are so heavy, they're not going anywhere. But I used to, like in the 90s, what I had done is I had one big aquarium that was like a glass top, and the base was in 2x4s. And then I built it in a vivarium, and then I used um, duck work to go from the top to the bottom, but then they
Mm-hmm.
would always be in the passageway.
Yeah.
So if your passageway is too big, they'll cram into it and it becomes a hide box. So
Right.
that's like
Which
6 to 7 inches is starting to be almost a hide box. It's just a thought.
I mean, I have my Timors, like my male will maybe curl up in there when the bridge is open, but he's not there all the
Yeah.
time. That's not, he's got his ledge, he's got water, he's got a hide box, and normally they'll be there and then they'll be in the hide box. The same thing with the white lips. So they don't necessarily stay in them. But I mean, if he wants to hang out in the bridge, the heat panel's right there and you can hang out in there for a little bit, but he's not cramming himself in there. It's kind of why I don't like the idea of like, I kind of had an idea with certain ones where the cages don't line up back to back. They kind of almost sit catty corner and then there's a dead air in a corner. I thought about making a bend with the tubes and stuff like that, but I think if you do that, then the snake's just going to be in the tube. So I think that's as far as I'd go.
Awesome. Well, I think with I think the next topic we could definitely go into white lips since we're talking about a snake that you've worked with for over a decade and on
Something
and
like that.
off and
Yep.
having pairs and not having pairs, having both subspecies, having one subspecies.
Mm-hmm.
What was your what made you even want to keep them in the first place since they're like a nice bitey python?
The first time I went to Chris's collection when we were in college, he was on a white lip kick. So he had about 4 or 5 blackface. And these were like wild caught monsters. They were not happy. And I watched one pretty much chase him around a room and bite the shit out of him several times. And I was just instantly hooked on the species. And they were blackfaces, which the iridescence coming off of a black phase and just kind of like the head and attitude of them, just that's a snake. That's an impressive animal. So I always really kind of wanted to do them, but I never really felt I was on a level that I could do them until I got to a certain point where Chris and I just started talking, and we both got gold phase white lips that we were kind of splitting with each other. And then we got some black phase white lips and stuff like that. And then, like you said, it just kind of, it was weird. Like I'd get frustrated that nothing was happening and I'd sell the gold phase, or um, I'd get a pair of black phase, and then like I'd I'd send them over to Chris's place, and he had them, and then he moved a couple times. We lost an animal or two, and then I spent the money on a trio of captive born and breds. Money got really tight, and a bunch of other stuff, and I sold them to a friend of mine, and I'm like, cool, they're close. I know this guy, he's got it, he's good. He got out of snakes and sold the white lips to God knows who, and it was like great. So kind of chasing all that around. I talked with Dennis McNamara, and he had a pair of white lips, captive born and breds. They were huge when I got them, like the biggest gold white lips I'd ever seen. And I immediately put the male on an all bird diet because he had rolls. And the female I just tried, and she was not having it. She was biting the male all the time, biting me all the time, which was not working out. She eventually got some form of lump tumor thing in her neck. And I'm like, she's probably not going to be able to breed. And I think she ended up losing her about a year later. So then I was down to one gold male and nothing else. I had no blacks at that point. I had one gold male. And I found a wild caught female that was of adult size at a show. And I bought her, which is like screaming, don't ever do this shit. This is a terrible fucking idea. But I did it. And then I let her alone for 2 years. Like I didn't even try to breed them. I just fed her and just kind of let her chill. And then I tried introductions. First year, nothing happened. No fighting, no nothing, but just nothing happened. Second year, I paired them in February, right after like warm up around Valentine's Day. March, nothing really happened. We got a couple bad storms, but it was the like, if I felt like feeding, I have to go downstairs and separate the white lips. And then I can maybe open the rodent freezer. Like they need to be completely separate and away from each other. And it was constantly putting them back in after feeding. And this was around end of March, April-ish, kind of stuff like that. I ran out of medium rats. And I fed large rats to my females, the white lip included. And it looked like I thought that's it. I've killed her. She's going to explode at any moment. She's one of those carpets that like ate a cat. Like she looked huge. And I gave her an extra day after feeding, and then I reintroduced the male. And he never showed as much interest in her as he did at that point. Normally they would just kind of be in their bin. They kind of be hanging out. He was chasing her like around the cage.
Even while she was round like a football?
Yep. I mean, the lump had gone down a little bit, but he was definitely kind of paying attention to her. He is all of 7 foot, but he's not thick like he used to be. He's actually kind of thinner, slim. He can move fast. She is about 5.5 foot max. So then shortly, I think a week or two later is when I saw them locked for the first time. And it's one of those stutter step things where you're like, I know in my brain what I'm looking at, but it can't be like that. That doesn't happen here. So, and then I just kept trying to convince myself that it wasn't freaking happening. Like, there was a lock. Everybody gets fucking locks. And then she's blowing up like a balloon. And I'm like, okay, she's going to reabsorb any day now. She's just going to reabsorb. And she's eating throughout the entire thing. Like if she was really gravid, she just stopped eating. Then I think going on a month after the first initial lock, he went from being in the hide box with her to hanging out with her to opposite side of the cage, underneath the water bowl, tucked underneath, like all 7 feet of him in one little corner because she owns this side of the 6 foot cage. Like this is hers. So I separated them. And then I'm still doing the whole, it's not happening. I even ultrasounded her. I could see them. I could see the eggs. I'm like, these are not these aren't eggs. These are not what they are. She's inverted. Like she's basking belly up. And I'm like, that's just weird right now. It's not happening. June 10th she laid the eggs. And then I'm like, well, they're all duds. Clearly, none of these are good. And that like they just kept going, put them in the incubator, and they kept riding. And then I got pips. Then I got babies. So I have had one clutch of gold white lips in 2022. 23, nothing really happened. Same thing with I think the past couple of years, just they haven't really been going at it. They haven't really been trying. So it might be a one-off. I'm hoping not. But I definitely put a little bit more weight on my male in case he has to like throw his weight around a little bit. I don't know. And then I have a couple of large rats that I'm reserving just for the female for when that rolls. So it might be one of those things where they need that big boost. And it's also the kind of approach I'm taking towards the Timor pythons, where it's like, I'll give you some, but then I'm going to give you some, like when you come out of cool down, I'm going to give you some small rats. Then I'm going to give you large rats. Like then I'm going to give you like 2 or 3 large rats and see what that triggers in the male and see what that does for both those species. But right now, currently with the white lips, I have the two golds, my adults, my proven breeders, which my male is already captive born and bred, and then female's a wild caught, so it's good for bloodlines and stuff like that. And then I have a trio, two babies that I produced, a male and a female, and then I have a captive born and bred female from 2022, the same year as Ryan Young, because he and I swapped girls. So one of mine went to him, one of his went to me, which is cool. And it's weird because Ryan's eggs were, like his eggs were in the incubator and hatched by the time mine hit the ground. So again, the seasonal stuff. Now he's out west further and got different things, and he does Indo stuff all the time. So it's hard to kind of gauge that stuff. But I used to remember being deflated each year because Ryan and a couple other breeders got their white lip eggs. And I'm like, well, I missed the boat this year, because if it would have happened, it would have happened when all the other white lips in the country are breeding. That's not true. Like you just kind of keep going. So
That's
Nice.
Yeah, I was
Yep.
gonna say
That's a pretty good. That's a pretty long,
it was a
long
huge
journey with those guys. And
that was a huge gut punch. It was, I would say that out of my Python stuff, the roughies are number one, but the white lips are underneath. Like that was an awesome thing to see and to have. I have the three babies that, it's weird. My captive born and bred male is this puppy. He's calm, he's chill, he just does whatever. But the two females are just absolutely horrible. Like it's night and day with those three, and I'm like, all right, whatever. Like it's fine. But now I have the problem of, how the hell do you keep like 5 gold white lips and then a pair of blacks too? So
yeah. What are you keeping the adults in right now? Are they just
right
in
now,
like 5 foot? I mean, 4 foot cages?
my adult golds are in 6x2x2s, and then the babies right now are soon to be graduating into 41 quart rack, or if I can, depending on how we shift, I want to get them into 3-footers. My black male is in a 6-footer because he's bigger than my female. My female is in a 4-footer right now, but she's packing on size, which means we have to do a lovely swap of how the hell do I get the black face female into a larger cage and somewhat near the black face male. Like, so there might be a giant reshuffling of adding more cages and things like that. I did just build a bank of 5-footers from AP that I have my scrubs and my 2 largest coastal females in. So they're cool, but I maybe get some more of those for the soon to be adult gold white lips and soon to be adult black face white lips. So we'll see.
With your cages, you've gone. Obviously, in the past, you've bought cages a lot, but then at one point you built a ton of your
Yes.
own cages.
Yeah,
So now you're kind of on the boat for kind of just letting somebody else do it and having everything as uniform as you can.
I am no construction person, and I'm like, I'll save money by building the wood cages, and I built them. And then if you sat down of the time, effort, money, wood, sealant, glass, getting it done, and then they're good cages. They're heavy as shit, but also, I had to clear them out because the sealer worked on everything but not what was underneath mulch. So I had to clear them out, and I had to get liquid rubber and do the entire bottoms and up the walls with liquid rubber so that nothing can kind of get in there or anything like that, which when you break it down, when you finally get down to it, I saved maybe $200. I don't know. Like, it's not fucking worth it. Like, it's fine. I'd rather just delay it. Like, by the time, I don't care about lead times, just get me shit that's good. And also, I built them so that there's a support post, and that post is like this far away from the glass. So of course, every snake in the world tries to get between the glass and the support post, which is how my retics were able to just flex and just blow the glass out of their cages. So
that makes a lot more sense now that I hear that.
Yeah, I'd much rather just let somebody else do it. Lucas made me Lucas made the 3-footers that are going to go over here. I'm just waiting for that desk to get the hell out of the way. And he did a fantastic job, him and his partner, Alex. I've got a ton of animal plastics cages. I have a bunch of, these guys are up top, are Reptile Evolution cages. There's so many cage builders out there that do a good job that you can just kind of go with that. And I do like the uniformity of having all the black plastic.
Yeah, I'm big on just black PVC, and as soon as I get them, I modify everything. I change all the hinges to plastic hinges. I change all the locks to have the same thing. Then I add the pass through. I had the top hide box, everything. You add everything. So in the end, I'd rather just buy them. I'm of the same freaking thing. Going back to the white lips. So are the golds and the blacks considered, so the northern and the southern, are they considered different species? Do you know officially?
It depends, and it varies so much. I think at this point they are considered separate species because it's see, I keep wanting to say Bothrochilus albertisi. I think that's wrong now.
I got it somewhere. 1 second.
And it's because I like my favorites were the nomenclature I like is when the white lips were paired with ring pythons under Bothrochilus, because I think that ring pythons are nothing but a funny colored white lip. So, but I think the latest one split them back out again. I don't know.
The list I'm looking at.
You don't have to follow taxonomy. You can do what you want.
I was just wondering if they're true species or if they're more like subspecies.
I think they're still their own species no matter what.
Yeah. I think they're true species, and that makes the most sense to me because looking at the structure of a black-faced white lip and a gold-faced white lip, they're very, very different. Head structure of a black face is a little bit beefier. White lip golds have a little bit more of a narrow snout. So it's like I think they're different enough that I would probably put them as two separate species at that point.
And then go ahead.
People break down the golds further with island localities and other things like that. And then there are those red ones. So it's all over the place.
And how about value? I'm just curious. So for us here, one is 4 times the price of the other, right? So blacks would usually be about 4 times the price. I'm talking about wild caught because I don't think, has anybody even in Canada bred white lips?
Yeah, Cody. Actually, my buddy Tyrone, who you're sending the Angolans to, he bred white lip. He bred northerns back in 06, I think.
Oh, that's cool.
Cody Joe just hatched.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Just hatched one.
Cody's
and
like,
then Aslam,
like Ryan, he just kind of has the
he's killing
the touch for the Indonesian species. Yeah, I'm only a little bit jealous, Cody.
We're gonna bring him on because he's killing it. It's insane.
He's a good guy. Yeah, I
get to meet him for the first time this weekend.
Yep,
that'll be fun.
That's cool. So
and Aslam bred Southerns a couple years ago.
I'm surprised. I thought did Don just do ring pythons?
He did
just as rings.
He did Timors a couple of times. Yeah, he did Roughies a couple of times too.
I think he's probably done Roughies like 5-6 times.
Many times. But Timors is. Did he do Timors this year? I know he did last year.
I think he did them like 2 years in a row. He probably exported most of those.
Those would be the fun ones. I'd like to get those. So
yeah, they look cool. That's really neat.
They are really pretty.
Yep.
I don't really want a 9-foot musky
too big
snake.
Just don't touch it. just don't touch it. It's like a Chinese king rat. Just don't touch it. They're the only ones that I have like hide boxes that I can be like and lock, because then it's in a bin and I just whole bin and do all that stuff. But I have a pair that they were teetering on the edge of being breedable size last year, and I gave them a shot, and lo and behold, nothing happened. This year they're out more. I see them more. They're relaxed more. They both have put on a nice considerable amount of size. So like I'm a little bit more hopeful for them this year. So we'll see.
Nice. How are you finding the rings compared to the white lips? Obviously, I don't think Dominic's kept white lips either. So we're kind of coming from that stance of not keeping either species.
Right.
I will soon enough, but I got none right now.
All right.
It's the future species.
Rings are. I always liked rings. There's no off switch on a ring. They will they're always gonna be hungry. They're always gonna be looking for food, and they're always gonna bite the first warm thing that comes across them. So the best thing to do with a ring is to just have a bin underneath their cage, open the door, and when it throws itself out, it lands in the bin. You just put the lid on, and then you clean the cage, and then you can hook it back in. And I've had several. Right now, I have no ring pythons. I had one girl that I sent to Ryan's, and it did not go well. No one died, but it did. They didn't get along. Nothing bad happened, but she has also killed 2 males. So I am gonna go with that. Nothing bad happened and no one died. I'm going to take that as a win. And she was a massive animal, and I felt like pairing her would be a death sentence to every male you could possibly put in there. So I got rid of her, and then I just had this female that was getting bigger and bigger, and I just didn't have the space for a male, so I sold her also. So right now I'm at no ring pythons, but I am desperate to correct that. I would really like to start from scratch with that project and my water python project, and kind of do it the right way and raise them up, as opposed to chasing and getting 2-year-old, 3-year-old, stuff like that. So I'm tempted. I was like, every time I see Cody's posting stuff, I'm like, how much would it be to ship some rings from Canada? Like, so yeah.
I think that might be tough with just because U.S. Fish and Wildlife sees rings almost as like a Fiji iguana thing, I believe.
Yeah,
probably almost worse than the Aussie stuff.
Well, the Fiji stuff is I don't know what they consider.
I think it's CITES, probably CITES 1 stuff there too. Maybe I don't know their status.
I don't know about that, but it would be something to look into. But I also know there's some ring python breeders down here.
Yeah.
I think I just need to be patient and also have the money when they appear, because that's usually how it goes. Is I fill the freezer or I buy something, and then I'm like, I'm good now. Pair of rings. I'm like, God damn it, and then yeah. So.
Just keep back some white lips when you produce them, or roughies, and trade that for them, right? As soon as you have something of value, you can always get anything of value in the back.
You really can. It's funny because I with the white lips, it was one of those. One went to Lisa immediately. One went to Ryan immediately, and I'm like, good. I've done my due diligence. Like, I made sure the people who could produce more have my guys, so they took those. And then I know a couple people sought me out because of the white lips to get the babies, but I only had 10 eggs. So they went quickly. And of course I kept 4 of those were already spoken. I kept 2. 1 went to Ryan, 1 went to Lisa. So I only had 6 to really kind of play with, but it was one of those things where a lot of stuff was kind of opened up, especially with the roughies too, of offering trades to people and getting stuff and sending things. I sent it's also good just when you get cool people to kind of just be friends with. Like I cannot speak any higher of Keith McPeak, and he was like, I was over at his house, I'm like, those are cool Argentines. He goes, here are babies. I'm like, okay. Like, and then I did the same with Hog Island Boas, and he's like, here you go. And now I got those monsters, which I absolutely love. And in return, I gave him a male roughie, but like, I just think, here you go, like, take it. And now he's getting a female from Matt Minatola, and he's just enjoying the hell out of them. So it's cool to have that interaction. I have to go probably kick in Eric's door and take a bunch of snuff from him, because I haven't done that lately. And I feel like it's due to just, raid and pillage. Yeah.
Sounds like a good idea.
So it's about good. Yeah, it's about time.
One last question about the rings. How did you find them to keep? Like, people kind of worry about the babies being super finicky, and you have to make sure they have a moist hide and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Are white lips similar, or are rings just like that? And then do they hit a stage where they're a bit better about it?
I would say that
your snakes should have no water, but
not that like, when it's fine. Yeah, no, like,
just being way more.
Yeah,
just way more on top of it.
Yeah, you have to
pay
more attention to that. Yeah, it's with the white lips and the rings. and I'll even throw the rainbow boas in on this one. Humidity is huge for them. They need it. So with the white lips, I actually, because normally I have like little containers or hide boxes that are just little cubes with like little semicircle cut in. With the white lips, it was a literal container with a lid with a hole in it, and inside the lid was nothing but damp moss. And I've found now had to do that with the rainbow boa babies, and I also had to do that with the ring pythons when they were small. So they need like a humidity hide, and that doesn't change when they get bigger. Just the size of the hide gets bigger, and you can kind of cheat by giving them a big water that they can soak in. But some don't ever really soak. They just don't do it. They'd rather shed like idiots. And it's better just to have a bin packed full of damp moss that you can spray down when you see them kind of getting into that blue phase. And I use hoses to fill waters and stuff like that. And I'll just turn it to the mist and just go nuts on them. And even then, they'll probably still shed in pieces. But humidity is a big thing. So water was always a big thing, making sure they had clean water, making sure they had the ability to do that. And it's like, it's nothing worse than trying to pick off hard, like a stuck shed off of a baby white lip that you just got feeding. It's like, no, like I don't want to do that. And it's a major stress thing for something as small as a baby ring python. So it'd be much easier to just let it take care of itself. So the humidity hides work for that kind of stuff, but it is something you have to consider as opposed to like a carpet. You're fine. Like, I'll see you later. Like, I don't need to even, don't worry about it. Like, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
So
I didn't,
Same with pine snakes.
yeah, as I say, I've kept rainbows for quite a while, and I found that for babies, I would just use mulch instead of paper towel. So as long as the mulch, like I would take the mulch, I would put it in water, soak it in, then pull it out of the water, just squeeze the water out, and then use that. And it worked amazing. Like as long as you kept everything somewhat damp, it was zero issues. So if yeah, and going back to the rings, I'm going to say something that is probably considered a very unpopular opinion, but I'll say it anyway. I think rings are really ugly. Like as adults, they're a very drab, very ugly animal, but as babies, they're gorgeous. They got to be the prettiest babies I've ever seen. That like bright ass orange is incredible, like incredible. And you see some of the ones with a really like crazy aberrant pattern. It's I just think they're the most prettiest baby snakes or neos ever. But as adults, I'm sorry, man. I think they just go downhill. I'm not
I have
sure.
not
I
produced
don't know.
any. I'm not
So
at fault for any of the ones that are on the market. You know, other things, yes, but not these guys. So I would say that there are ones that retain a little bit more of the orange than normal, but it's never as bright as when they are as babies, which is kind of why when I was coming into it, the ring pythons were so hard to find, because before I kind of got into it, I guess people had just bred ring pythons like crazy, and people were kind of turned off about how they look as adults. So nobody really kept doing it. They just kind of stopped. So also the whole fact of that they will take it out on their mate and potentially kill and eat them and stuff like that. So it just became a hard thing for not really much of a baby. So the prices of rings when I first got in were low, but nobody cared. And then people started realizing that there weren't really any around. So it went from being this snake that I'm pretty sure you could walk into a snake show and they would hand it to you in a goodie bag, to being this thing that nobody could find. They're $1,000 each, all this kind of stuff. And I don't think we've ever fully recovered from that, because I would say a ring python is still more expensive than either baby gold or blackface white lip, which is kind of where they're compared to the most. And I would say there's less ring python clutches produced in the States than there are golds and blackface white lips. So
Yeah, I think up here they're definitely about that same price, but in like I think Cody Joe's selling his for about $2,000 a pair.
yeah,
So
all
like
right.
it's not too bad. Our market's a bit smaller too, so it's a bit harder to move them. So there is that factor where if he had with his Apodora, if he had if actually I think he probably would. I think the Apodora wouldn't be too bad to export as long as you talk to the right person, and it would still be worth it. Like even just export it to Europe or export it to the US because they're regularly imported legally through Indonesia. So it's not really it shouldn't be that big of a hassle.
They're another one that people weren't really that impressed about, and so nobody really put in the legwork. But now they're considered a rare python, and now everybody wants it. So,
although they're super cool looking, and
they are. I would love a pair. I would love a pair. A lot of restructuring that would have to happen here. It would be so much, and that would be a fun thing to put into. Be a fun species to tick off the list.
Yeah, it's a bit too much of a snake, man. Those are big animals. That's the big thing, right? It's like all those gigantic snakes. Like I don't think they're in the top 5 big snakes, but they're right up there.
I would say that they're about probably a good healthy one would be about the size of I have 4 Aussie olive pythons, and then I have a retic. So I would say that they'd be about where the Aussie olives would be. And they have 8-foot cages. So that's a lot of snake.
Like an 11, 12-foot snake. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They kind of look...
The ones that Cody bred were, I think is the one that actually went for him was only like maybe bigger than 7, but it was like an 8-foot. Like it was like a smaller female that went.
But
like obviously he has some 12. He has had some bigger animals, but I think it was almost like the smaller, younger animal was the one that decided to actually go for him.
Same story
this year.
I would want to say that a lot of the Indo stuff, it's like the male needs to be bigger and also maybe kind of a jerk. And then the female needs to be a little bit more on the smaller side because then she won't kill him. So I don't know if that's part of it. But maybe. I'd like to give them a shot. I think I have enough projects to figure out. Eventually I'm going to have to make sure that my Argentines have appropriate caging because they're going to be monsters. My scrubs are good where they're at for now. And then, of course, I got all the white lips. I got to get into new caging. And then there's a bunch of carpets hanging around here, too. So there's a constant revolving thing of the only thing I don't really have to move up is I think the children's pythons are good where they're at. I don't think they're going to need to get any bigger. So, but yeah.
You're talking how you really like the boas. Are there any other boas you're looking to maybe work with in the future?
If you'd asked me that question on Friday, I'd be like, no. But at the show, I saw Kankakee Island boas, which are the dwarf. They only get 4 foot. And I'm like, yeah, I want a 4-foot boa. But it looks like a boa constrictor. And I don't know why, but a friend of mine who's going to the big show in Daytona was getting a bunch that they could sell at the show, and he showed me they were gorgeous. They're light gray speckles, really nice, kind of a red tail, and you're telling me that it's only going to get 4 feet? That's awesome. That's great. That's a new boa that I don't have to worry about getting a 7-foot cage for. That's great. And that was the problem is with me is that
was it the Crawl K or the Culker K? I'm assuming it's one of those.
Is it K Culker?
You said Kankakee Bull.
Kankakee Culker K. And I don't know. I only saw the thing for a minute, but the idea that the problem is species like that kind of get into my head, and then it's more research is needed, and then I start kind of piecing it and spinning with it, and then just kind of go further and further and further, and then
Warren gives you a call.
Warren gives a call, and he's like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "Yeah, well, what's up with you?" So, but it's cool stuff like that, fringe species, fringe stuff. So, I think it would be cool to look into that. But for right now, I'm good where I'm at. But if those present themselves, I might take a stab at it.
So obviously, do you still own those Dominicans and they're with a buddy, or did you fully?
Oh, okay. So my friend Dan Sheehan and his girlfriend Stacy, they do a lot of Stacy does skink breeding. She does a lot of blue tongue, stuff like that. And then Dan does a lot of Boiga and rear fangs. He's Barons racers, stuff like that. And they had a male Dominican, and I have my 2 giant proven females. And I just didn't want to keep going with that project, but I also didn't want to let it go. So I let them take the females, and they had their boy. Well, their boy for the past couple of years has just been terrified of these females, and he's growing a little. So this past summer, Stacy and Dan went out and got another male that just happened to pop up that was of larger size. And then I was at a snake show a couple months ago, and I found a male that was of larger size sitting on a table. So now we have 2 boys between the 3 of us. We have 2 boys that are bigger and are going to get ready to go. So the idea is that they will be the ones that are going to pair with the females this coming year. Because it's been a couple years since I've had Dominican boa babies. And at this point, I think it would just be cool to do that to make sure that they're still being produced readily and kind of as an offering, especially now that like the rainbow boas, like I got those, like that was cool. I enjoyed that. Those were a fun thing to just kind of tick off. And then I wanted them to be something different that I could offer to both wholesale customers as well as people at the show. I sold out of the entire litter on Saturday. So like I brought them
Oh
to
yeah,
the show.
rainbows sell.
They're gone.
My buddy,
They're gone.
my
They're gone.
my buddy produces 4 or 5 litters, so like 80, 100 rainbows a year. Wholesales a bunch of them, but then also like they sell at shows. Every show that I help them vend, where like, and they sell for full price, $350, $400.
Yeah.
People they go, and they're
Yep.
actually this year he's gonna have some nice ones that Don has. He's gonna have some lighter ones, but then he's also have these like candy red ones that Don held back and sent him. So like those will be neat. And it's like, well, do I want rainbows? Because I got the Bahama boas, the Strigillatus, and I'm like, do I need to branch off more? Should I focus on these? Because when these drop, it's going to be like 30 little babies like your Dominicans that want to eat lizards. So it's
I enjoyed the rainbows. I mean, they didn't take long to get up to size. She only had 8, but this was her first litter. She's immediately back on food and she's doing all that stuff. And I like the idea of them being in. I have both my adults in 4-footers, and they use it. They're plenty with it. It's just a cool thing to have, and it was just something to offer. And apparently they looked okay. Like people snatched them up, and that's. I would like to maybe get her a little bit bigger to kind of have it so that I could wholesale some babies and then like keep some to sell at regular price, which would be cool. But I was able to get a bunch of rodents and they filled the freezer, which was the whole point of doing that project. Like I'm not one of those people that's out there trying to further the species with like morph mutation lines and stuff like that. So yeah, that was the job of them. It's the job of the corn snakes and the king snakes and stuff like that. It's just stuff to fill up so I can sit there and I can take my time with my white lips and my rough scale pythons and all the various carpet projects. So
yeah, with the Dominicans, because this year I paired my Bahamas for the first time. They were imported from Jeff Murray 7 years ago, and they're like kind of similar to Dominicans, although like Cody Joe hasn't had one. He had one litter 4 years ago from one pair, and then obviously he's he's now bred this year. He's going to have another litter of Dominicans, so those he's bred like 3 times. But then the siblings to my pair of Bahamas, his haven't even tried to breed. Mine had a slug clutch when I got them 2 years ago.
Yep,
it was like, oh, why isn't she feeding? And then a month later, she dropped like 30 slugs, and right now she's looking very, very large and thick, but she's still pounding food, so it's hard to. I hope it goes right, but I was wondering like how you what was your experience when you bred your Dominicans, like in terms of watching them breed and stuff?
So the first litter, my first litter of Dominican boas, I got 3 days after I got the female. So um, that no fucking idea what happened there. So that was a friend of mine went to a place. There used to be this reptile place called Undercurrent Reptiles. There were dealers and stuff like that, and they bought a ton of Dominican boas from Tom Crutchfield. And theirs were the calico line. So those ones that have white all over them. So they invested heavily that they're going to be able to do that. The problem is that with Dominicans is if they have calico, which I have not seen a lot of calicos out there for the amount of breedings that have happened, you figure that would happen. That animal was born normal, and then after about a year developed those white scales. So I think if you had calicos and calico line running around out there, you'd see a lot more Dominicans with white scales, but I don't know. So Undercurrent was doing reptile dealings and back and forth and stuff like that. And they eventually outran their coverage and needed to fold. So a friend of mine was contacted to go out there and potentially purchase a bunch of animals. So she sent me a list of animals, and this, like, it had macalots, diamonds, white lips, all the things a growing Owen would absolutely love. And I'm like, I circled these things. I'm like, I want these, all of these. So she calls me a couple days later and she's like, I'm coming over and I got a box of snakes for you. I'm like, yes, I can't freaking wait. And I'm like, I didn't even ask what the hell these things were. And I'm like, I'm going to enjoy the hell out of this. I open the box and there's 4 adult Dominicans. And I'm like, what the hell are these? Like, I didn't even know what they were. And she's like, they're Dominican boas. I'm like, I don't care. And she's trying to convince me about how cool they are and what's going on. And the only thing I can think about is these aren't diamonds. Like, and that's fine. So I set them up, and I had 2 normal red females, which are my girls that I currently still have, 1 red male, and then I had a pastel male. And I'm like, all right, fine, set them up. And I came down a couple days later, and the smell that I had never smelled before hit me, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And the one female just had like 20 babies. Like, they were just everywhere, and it was just, I'm like, great. And I've never done boas before, so I'm like, what the hell? And she had been in there with him for a while, so she was getting like, she was getting protective of them. It was this whole thing. And then it was the whole bullshit of getting them to feed, where I had to go get a Knowles, and I had to or it was day geckos, and it was getting day geckos and then putting the geckos in there and watching these boas like rip the tails off the geckos, eat the tails, and then let the gecko run around a bin for a day and a half before killing and eating it. And it was just getting them going. And it was such a hard, like, people wanted them, but they didn't want them. So it was like going for $100 a piece, the boa, and it was like pulling teeth. And I eventually got done with them. And then I bred them again a couple years later, because after that I moved, and that threw them off for like 2-3 years. Like, nothing. The males would try, but the females were just bucking them off. They did nothing. Then I got a litter, a smaller litter from the one smaller girl. And I mean, the good thing about that is that they're obvious. So the male's locked, but then he's wrapping his entire body around her. So it's not like they might be. No, there's nothing else that's going on here. That litter was only about 10. And I got to them, and I kind of got them going. I think I got 5 or 6 going. And then my one friend took the remaining babies, and he sold some, got some going. I got rid of those babies. And then after that, it was time to send. That's when Dan, Stacy, and I sent the females out. I still had the pastel male, so he went with them, and I think he died over there at their place, which is why we ended up with just the little boy. So it was this whole thing. But it was weird getting them. It was a weird thing. And it was like, at each time I'd gotten a litter, one was completely unexpected. And the other one, I thought I had missed the boat. So I stopped counting. Like I thought it was too far and it was no chance. And I was away and I came back to the babies in the cage. So I don't even know if she may have had them the second I left, or she may have had them 12 minutes before I walked in the door. Like, I don't know. So
Yeah,
yeah.
they seem to, as Jeff Murray said, I think they I've been talking to him, and he's like, you need to try to be home if she does give birth to whatever it is, whether they're slugs or not, because
Yeah.
they could maybe eat the babies if there's a bunch of slugs, they're going to eat the slugs, and maybe they'll accidentally eat a baby or something, because they like to eat their.
I did have a slug litter.
Yeah.
I did have a slug litter the year before I got the viable litter from my big girl, the one who had proven before. She laid a slug litter, which was surprising. So that's why I gave her that following year off. But they're gorgeous animals, beautiful in sunlight. Everybody's going to bitch that it's not as red as it should be, but
Oh, they're better than the pictures usually. Like I find like the pictures underestimate how actually good they look in person,
and they
also
fire up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're darker red at the end of the day, and then you're during the beginning of the day or in the sun, they're like orangey, and then they just kind of get darker, almost like a bredli. So.
Yeah, Randy seems to have been able to sell them pretty well too down in Washington. I think he probably gets $350-$400 a piece. I think.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, I really should.
You got to put a bit of money in, but you also got to put the work in. So it's not like
if my babies had sold for $400 a pop when I had 20 of them, I would have loved that. But it was like getting people to spend $100 or putting them up for 100, having people haggle me down to 90, and then them handing me $100 bill to make change is like, I'm like, are you serious? Like, I don't even want these things anymore. Like, I'm done with these boas. So, but they were cool for what they were. I think at the time of my inexperience and also where I was set up, like I almost wish I could have done it now, where it's like I've battled with rock chondros and Madagascar hognose. Like, it's, you guys want gecko, fine, I'll figure it out. Like, I think I could do that better now than I could.
Yeah, I was talking to Steve Woodward on the phone. He's another Jamaican, Puerto Rican, Bahama guy, and he was like, "Oh, I just use the Reptilinks an old scent. That's all he uses. He doesn't even have to use anoles really anymore, other than some of the Fordi are a little small, and they're eating like slivers of mouse for like a year or two until they're big enough to eat a pinky." But yeah, no, he said just the scent on the pinky, a boiled pinky, and they take it, like almost all of them take that right away.
And you know what? I wish that was something was around when I had my big litter. Like, that would have been great. But yeah. So maybe this year, maybe this time next year, I'll have some little ones here. So
yeah, those will be cool. I was always thinking hearing Bill Steele and that talk about the chicken gizzard stuff with the chondros almost makes me want to scent some chicken gizzards and see if maybe that would work too.
I mean,
it's hard to say.
I fed this year's crop of Madagascar hognose today with frog scented, but then I have a few that haven't been taking, so they actually got the calf muscle off the frog leg just laid in their cage. So we'll do that for a little bit and see if I can get them to come around. Next step is I'm going to wrap I wrap a fuzzy in knobtail gecko skin.
Nice. So. You're never going to accept a box from Rob of Puerto Ricans or Jamaicans, or
knowing that the offer is out there and standing, like, I don't want them, but it's cool to have that as an option. Like, if I could call Rob tonight and be like, hey, I think I want these, but I don't think I will, just because of the idea of what you would do with the babies after that. I know there's the whole thing of where you go and gifts and things like that, and I wouldn't mind that, but it's just like, I think there's enough people doing it, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes, because I also don't want it to be a point where we all don't know what to do with our Jamaican boas. Like, so Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
it's
wish we had
there.
that problem up here.
Wouldn't that be nice?
we,
Yeah. So
we have, I know of maybe one pair, but like they all originated from Canada somehow.
yep.
We don't. I think there's obviously some in some zoos at Toronto, but I think, and there's probably some old guys that Dominic knows out east that maybe have them in their basement
Somewhere,
still.
someplace. Yeah.
Yeah, same with the Puerto Ricans. I don't even know of anybody that has them up here anymore, even though I think there was some imported in the early 2000s on the CITES records, which is like interesting because they're CITES one. So who knows what kind of happened with those? But
There's a
yeah,
bunch of
it's
different stuff that can get
yeah
who knows where. So
it's interesting. I love these Bahamas though. They're like an inland python, but like on a Dominican boa, and like the litters are even more variable in terms of pattern and color than the Dominicans. I find you can get
mhm.
super dark ones, super light ones, but they're like gray and blue and silverish. I don't know. They're super neat.
Yeah,
I kind of like them more than the Dominicans. I've never been musked on. They're just super hungry all the time.
that
So
is the
yeah,
downside of a Dominican is like you touch it, it's dripping out the back end. But
yeah.
um, it'd be cool to get some more, I guess. So
So, for
Awesome.
good to switch subject there, one thing I'd like to jump into is the size of your collection, Owen. So you have a Noah's Ark gigantic collection from everything. So I'm always curious because if you give me a ballpark of how many animals you are and how you take care of them, because like, are you doing it every day is 2 to 3 hours? How does it work? I'm just curious because your collection is gigantic, and then when comes baby season, like my collection doubles or triples during baby season, right? So
hmm
how do you handle that? And of course, I know you've got a wife that's into animals too, so I'm sure that has probably a lot of help. Which I wish I had that. Don't have that, but
so
yeah,
yeah. So the snakes are mine entirely. So she would help if there's an illness because she is a vet tech, but she's not down there cleaning or anything like that. She is good with names and she does like to poke them every once in a while. But as far as cleaning and caring, it is one of those. Um, you can break it up by maybe 2 hours a day checking stuff. The good thing is that I do work from home for my 9 to 5, so I have a 45-minute lunch now. Normally, I just eat at my desk if I want to take a lunch, and then I got my 45 minutes to either do yard work or I can clean a rack in 45 minutes. One of the racks downstairs. Currently, I want to say that the last count was out of animals that we currently have that are keepers. It's 144 keepers, and that's through all the species. Um,
it's a good amount.
yep, pretty good one, pretty nice one. And then normally in a normal year, I am about that many in babies. So you're right, it does kind of double, but that also doesn't take into account that 144 number is not including kids from last year that are still here or anything like that. And also doesn't include animals that are mine but are not here. So anything I have on a breed loan. So that number is probably closer to 150, 160 if we get into those kind of stuff of just animals that are here, not including this year's babies, or at least in my ownership, my bubble. So with that, it's usually about an hour, 2 hours a day, which is cleaning. And then I have one day for water change and stuff like that. I found that there are certain things that I can do to kind of make it a little bit easier on myself. I got a portable dishwasher that plugs into my slop sink that I could get all the animals' water bowls cleaned and sanitized if I run cycles throughout the day. So if I put in a cycle in the morning before work and then go down and just kind of pull the clean bowls out, put them on a dry rack, and put dirty ones in, I can get the entire room's bowls sanitized around. Like I can get them all done at the whole room and the guys out in the bigger rooms and stuff like that. I can get them done before end of work day, and then right when work ends is when I'm filling them up and putting them back in with the animals. Stuff like having hoses that can go through every single cage. Like I can just makes it a hell of a lot easier than walking around with buckets and jugs to fill up water and stuff like that. Um, Getting one of those nice big rolls of butcher paper that you can get from Uline to just kind of pull and tear rather than sourcing that kind of stuff. I have a giant trash can that has a mix of pine bark, nuggets, and cocoa husk for any cage that has mulch and things like that. And it's just getting down and doing it. But there are some weeks where shit happens and I can't get down there. So Saturday, guess what Saturday is? You're down there from 8 a.m. to whenever you're fucking done. So um it can be interesting. It can be one of those things where it can be a grind. And you're cleaning, you're scrubbing a cage and you got to keep going because you got more cages next. I will say that the dishwasher and stuff like that is great for baby bins. Like I can always just run stuff in that too. Uh, Usually try to run those when a baby has sold, like it just gets added to the dirty pile. Then the clean cage with a clean water bowl and clean hide just go and sit in the rack ready for the next when it's needed. So it's good to have that kind of stuff to cut down on that. But it's just kind of, you got to put your head down and keep rolling.
Yeah, I kind of get that. I just don't have a collection that size. My big thing
Yep.
is for me, my the animals are a stress relief, right? They're just your happy place. You go do it, it's all good. Baby season's stressful though. Like when you end up having like 2 or 3 times the size of your collection and cleaning 80, 100, 150 babies, that's
Mm-hmm.
hours of work, right? Just to change
Yep.
every single water bowl, change every single paper towel, and then if you got to feed them, then you got to feed them all. Then you got to go back and open 150 bins to look if the rodent's actually still in there or not, and blah
Yep.
blah blah. Right? It is so time consuming. I'll be honest. Like I have my number. Anything under 80, I can deal with. Over 80, I need to wholesale and I need to get that shit out of here because it's too
Yep.
much. So I'm looking at your numbers. Just your numbers seems like you're dealing with it well. But then when you have that amount of babies, like it to me, it would be like it would become a chore more than an enjoyment.
I mean, everybody's different.
Yeah, no, it's
So,
fair. That
yeah. And also, it's one of those things where the worst that ever happens when I had a big year is babies are done on a different day. So, babies are massively time consuming and you have to feed, you have to do this stuff. So, babies would be cleaned on Monday. So, and I'm talking clean, water, done. And that's all the baby's done. And yeah, that takes from, you go down there right after work at 5, and then who knows when you're going to get out there, depending on what's going on. But that takes up that. Then the babies are done. So then the next day, you're going through. And I also like, this is why I like cages over racks, is I'm looking and I'm like, you're clean. Bye. I don't need to deal with you. Like, I don't need to do anything with you. And then next cage and stuff like that. And then water bowls for the adults are done on Wednesdays. Then at that point, it's like, well, it's time to check back in on the babies. Like it's, we cleaned them Monday, we ignored them on Tuesday. Now it's Wednesday, we'll check back, or Thursday, we'll check back in on the babies, and maybe it's time to feed them. So then you kind of get that going where Fridays feed or something like that, because then you can always go and check everybody on Saturday to see who didn't eat, who did eat, and stuff like that. Check everything going. You don't necessarily need to be down there Sunday, depending on how the week goes. You have a set stuff that need to get done during the week. And then it's just up to you to figure out when and where and how. And I've always said to a certain point, if I get overwhelmed with stuff, I shouldn't have them. Like that's my number. It's like, if I can't take care of them to the best of my abilities or where I think I should be taking care of them to, then that's the time to get rid of them. That's the time to cut back. That's the time to lower. I haven't hit that yet, but I'm also not crazy enough to be like, clearly I need more racks. Like it's not that. I'm good at my number now. I'm good with my animals now. And babies are just kind of, you just plug in a podcast, plug in a book, and you just go. But I have gotten to a point where I'm like, there is a lot. There are more coming, and I need to fill the freezer. So let's wholesale this. I can kind of take a little bit of a break. I can kind of focus on this, and let's do this. Oh, more babies have hatched into the rack. It's that kind of stuff. Of it just never, it never kind of stops. Like it used to be when it was just carpet pythons. You'd have the season, you'd have the eggs hatch, and if you had bred you'd be like, oh well, the last babies have hatched in August, and now August, September, I got nothing to do. October, I'll start dealing with emptying them out. And then November is when I might start cooling and all that other stuff. Or you might even push it back, depending on the weather, to November, December. But now it's like there's no stopping point. Like we're right now in the beginning of August. And in the next couple weeks, I still have 4 or 5 clutches that still need to hatch, which is now we're in October. It's time to start thinking about breeding season for the next one. So it just kind of keeps rolling. It doesn't stop. So, yep.
I guess I'll go. So next, the other one I heard you've talked about scrubs a bit. What kind of scrubs do you have?
I have captive born and bred Waminas.
Waminas, captive. Who produced them?
Nick.
Nick, nice. And how old are they?
I don't know off the top of my head. I want to say that they're about 4.
Oh,
so I wanted the last time you said did that. So this would they're probably about 5 actually.
Almost. So are you breeding them?
Yeah, I tried last year.
How'd that go?
Did nothing. So, I think you would have known if I had scrubs, but it was nothing happened, but nobody died. So I think we're going to keep going. They were Lucas had them as babies, and he raised them up to a certain point, and then he and I did a trade for I think olive pythons or a roughie or something. So I have them. They're gorgeous animals. I'm still working on their cage. They're in some 5-footers, and they have a shelf, and I have a bunch of tree. One of the neighbors' tree fell down, and they let me pick through. So I have a bunch of giant tree limbs that I'm going to cut down and get into their cages so that they have some good branches and stuff to kind of stretch out across and all this other stuff. And the male 2 days ago scared the shit out of me. He likes to sleep inverted. He likes to sleep on his side with his head flipped upside down. I've now caught him twice like this. And both times he was deep in blue, and I freaked the hell out because I thought he was dead. So then I open his cage and I touch him and I wake him up, and he immediately goes for my face. So that animal is a trap, and he will eventually catch me. I don't know when or how, but that's just the way he is, which is weird, but they're both gorgeous, and I would love to get some scrubbies. So
how big are they? Because the Waminas are one of the smaller ones, or I'm probably thinking of the Nada, or maybe that's the same thing.
Tannenbar are smaller.
Oh,
the
Nada.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Waminas, they're almost like a. I want to say they're kind of close to a barneck. So, which I'm not sure how they break down scrubs anymore, because that's changed like 16 million times. And I want to say that maybe potentially Wamina we're going to get on to their own scrub like species. I want to say that they're separate enough. I know southern scrubs are the ones that are produced a lot. So I don't know, but they're about comparable. They're both of them are probably about 7 foot, but they're thin bodied. Trying not to overfeed them with just trying to give them birds and stuff like that. They will eat every time, so you have to like ignore them for certain things. But they're strong and they're long, and I'm hoping this year to get some baby scrubs.
Nice. It's always cool seeing people make scrubs, even though like I can't keep any scrubs here. At least I don't think so. I don't know. Like we should be able to keep Tracier, but because they're not on our banned list, they were Morelia when the list was made, because they use like old taxonomy.
Great.
But I'm not gonna push that.
I would say that the smaller scrubs are a great gateway drug for them. Nada, Tanabar, Moluccans. Like if I could get a good pair of Moluccans, I would do those again in a heartbeat. They're gorgeous animals, but I think I had 4 at one point when I was doing the joint thing with Chris, because he took them to a certain point, and I don't know what ended up happening with those, but I want to say we got like baby red ones of Moluccans for like under $100 because nobody cared, and now they're like
now you add a
they're
zero
gone.
times
Like
two.
now they're gone. Like, and I'm like, I would love, because they're beautiful animals with gorgeous eyes, and I just can't get them. It sucks. So
Not even wild caughts.
I think those are the wild caughts, are the ones that are expensive as hell. Nobody's really breeding them too much. I think Steve Cush is, I don't know
trying.
about what
He has
doing.
I think he has a few, but like we had him on last week.
Yeah,
but I think he's trying, but I don't think he's lucked out on his yet.
They're another hard one.
Yeah,
that I think it takes a little bit of a thing where you have to kind of set them up and leave them alone for 7 years, and then it's going to be what's their trigger to get them to go. I know some people have success. I know those Xanthic ones were produced. It's just finding the right people to jump in on them, and I think Dan brings in the wild caught ones, but they have a very large price tag on them, so it's like hard to, like, for me, justifying a $2,000 fun project where I'm only going to get a pair to like maybe breed, and if they don't breed, I don't care. It's kind of hard to put that kind of stuff in there. But if you're somebody who's hard into scrubs and that's your thing, then you're the guy that would probably invest in a pair of Moluccans. But now you're limited to what is your pair going to do? Is it going to be every so often, every couple of years, or will the male never really like the girl? And you only got 1.1, so it doesn't like you can't like throw in another boy. So kind of limited. I would like to see more of them produced, just mainly because I want more. So
yeah, that would be definitely cool to see more of those produced.
Yep.
So you do have a pair of Angolans, other than them almost killing each other
the
this
murder,
year.
the small murder.
How have you enjoyed keeping them compared to like carpets and roughies and stuff? I know
like
Dom's opinion on them, but
it's not good.
I like them. I will say that like they're a species that I kind of got backdoored into. Eric at one point was like, I'm going to own every single python species on the planet. And then he got them and he was like, I don't like this. And I'm like, okay. And I just took it. So that's where my female Angolan came from. Is Eric?
Wait, why did Eric not like him though?
It was just nosing his thing. I mean, the problem is that Eric is a carpet guy. And then he tries to step out of carpet, and then he's like, it's not a carpet. I'm like, well, then why don't you stay in carpets? Like, just stay there where you're happy. And, I'm saying this as I'm reaping the benefits of him, like, stepping out and being like, I don't like these white lips. I'm like, well, I know a guy. Like, it's that kind of stuff. So he stepped out and got the Angolans. He had a pair. I think he lost his boy. So he had this girl, and it was just there. And I got her. And she's a fun little snake when I got her. She's bumpy ball python kind of thing that I make fun of them for. But she had attitude. And she had like you will feed me right now or else. And it was like, all right, well, cool. You gave me a miniature African rock python. I'll take it. So having her was just kind of like an awesome thing. And then I got 2 Angolan males. And then I did the thing that I usually do where I'm like, I have an extra male. Sold one, and then something happened to the one that I kept. I'm like, well, shit. So then I got another Angolan male. So I like them. They're a cool species. They're a cool, fun thing to have that is not the beaten path that has always been beaten for ball pythons, corn snakes, and stuff like that. And I think they'd just be something else fun to kind of have in a display. I had a show.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
because you see them like not they're not arboreal like a roughie, but they'll probably use some shelves.
She climbs
give them
the
some
shit
nice
out of
tight
things.
shell. Exactly right.
They're not arboreal at all.
she's got
Well,
two
I'm not.
shells.
They're not going to sit on it. They're not going to coil on a stick, but they'll
I
still
shouldn't give
go
a
up
shit.
on
Oh, yeah,
go
well,
onto
so
ledges and stuff.
I have a hide box. My female's in a 3x2x2. She has a hide box that she can get on top of in a ledge. And she will go on to whatever. I gave her a PVC tube. She'll cram herself into that. Like, she's all over the place. I was expecting, like, slug on a rock, like, just lay there, but she does not. The male does the same thing. He's climbing all over the place. Actually, I'll move him up to a bigger
No, they
bin.
they move a lot, and just for the
Yeah.
record, they're cool. I just had them for 5, 6 years. I bred them twice. I grew tired of them. I looked at them and I just saw a ball python in my cage. Eventually, I just kind of I pushed them to Shan, which is who I bought the trio with, and then he bred him again, and then he bred him a second time, and he's like, yeah, and then eventually, well, they're leaving
and
now.
and now
Yeah.
I get to, and that's how I'm getting
And
my.
I don't even
pair
get
because
it. Yeah, you're getting your pair because I sold the adults to the guy who's selling you the pair. Why don't you just buy them from me? We have babies this year again for sale. We have 4.
I saw I saw these babies in person a few months ago, and I went out
Uh-huh.
to hang out with the boys.
Why not just get a proven pair of adults and just kind
I
of,
should have.
Right.
I
ride
should have.
that? Yeah, but
I was
it's
debating it. It was just like I have cages, and I
Yeah,
didn't.
they take
But I was like, but
forever
I
to
want
be.
to raise them up,
Yeah, they
kind
take
of, and I'm
forever
not.
to be sexually mature, though. That's one of the things with them. Like
Yeah,
it's pretty hard to get a female. Like even 6 years would be tough. Not many people breed them at that years. 7 seems to be like that golden time when they finally go.
which might be
So
it. I mean, I think I have to look at it, and I think my girl is 6 or 7 now, so that might be why she didn't turn off the food mode. But it's they're a fun. At one point in 2023, I set up at a show, and I had on the table, which I don't have shit I don't produce on my table, but at one point I had carpets, roughies, white lips, olive pythons. I had everything on there. So having something like adding Angolan pythons to that group would be really cool. And these aren't things that I went and bought out somebody's Angolan python clutch. These were my Angolans because I like being able to say, because people were asking, did you all these? I'm like, everything on this table was born in my basement, like everything here. So it's cool to have that, and that's kind of the high I'm chasing. So yeah,
yeah.
and
They're.
going to the next ones on
I
the
love
list.
I'm
that.
excited to get mine this weekend.
You'll
I
love them.
definitely want to. Yeah, they're neat.
I just like
I
how
want to set them up in cool cages.
they're huge when they're born. Like they're born and they can already eat almost like a freaking hopper mouse, no problem. Like it's even
It's
adult mouse. Like I'm telling you, they're big. Their head is like freaking like not quite an inch wide, but it's big.
it was fun with the roughies, like holding the baby roughy and then like an olive python that have just like they hatch within days of each other. And it's like this one is taking up this little spot on my palm, and this one's like draping off of my hand. Like, and it's fun to have that kind of stuff. And I have a pair of children's pythons that I tried breeding. I bought them as semi-adults. I tried breeding them last year. Nothing happened. So I'm going to try this year. And that would be something else that would be cool just to kind of have like hatching a python that could probably use an olive python egg as a hide box if it really wanted to for a pretty good amount of its life. So sure, why not? I would enjoy that
I
too.
should show you the picture. I've got a picture of baby pygmy pythons coming out of the egg. One is wrapped on a quarter, and you can see the outline of the quarter on the side. And our quarters are the same size as your quarters.
There you
So
go.
if you picture that, like they're insanely tiny. You want to talk about small
I
babies?
I have bins. I have racks for babies, and then I have smaller bins for like corn snake, rhino rat babies, like tiny little things. Because the racks, there's a little bit of a lip, and a corn snake's just like and gone. Like they need to grow for almost a year before they can go into the rack. And so I'm like, the children's pythons are just going to be one of those where I'm like, I'm going to have to just put them in a smaller tub. Like, oh my God. why am I doing this to myself? Anyway, more pythons. Like, it's the next thing. Like, keep going.
I've never bred children's, but I bred spotteds a couple of years,
Mm.
and I would just use the regular spotted python. Regular 6 quart bins, and spotteds they're almost the same size as children's, right? A little bit bigger, maybe. Uh,
Spotted's a little bit bigger.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I had no issues with that, but pygmies, like I put them in the first time, and then you see the snake coming out of the breathing holes in the bins. I'm like, oh fuck.
Yep. Yep.
I made that mistake. So now, they need a lid in the rack and no holes, no breathing holes.
Yep. No breathing holes.
It's
Yep. Yep. Sounds about that way.
so. How about NPR? So obviously NPR is a big brand of you guys, right? It's
Yep.
probably for me. It's the original. It's the good show. It's the one that I love. What's happening with you guys, man? Like shows have become less and less. Carpets and Coffee is not very often. So what's going on, man? Are you finally retiring, or are we going to be hearing your voice a little bit more on the radio?
So there's a lot going on behind the
Okay.
scenes. Eric's job is definitely kicking his ass, and we're trying to figure out a good time to do that. And also, he's still doing the editing for every other show on the channel, so it's hard to kind of do that. And adding an NPR episode for him to edit would kind of feel like throwing more fuel on his fire. So there's a lot of that. There's been some stuff going on over here for me that we don't have to get into. So that's just, it's hard to kind of peg it. And what people always used to say is how our success or being able to keep going was something we like to attribute to us. And it just kind of seems like there was nothing stopping us. So we just kind of kept rolling. And now, for the first time in a long time, we've hit something that is kind of stopping us. So we're trying to figure it out. We have a couple shows potentially lined up. I'm not pushing it because I don't want to put all that on Eric. And I feel like he's not pushing it because he doesn't want to put all this stuff on me. So for right now, it's kind of a weird hiatus, but we are trying to figure it out to get back for more NPR at least. And then trying to also figure out to do more live for Carpets and Coffee. But after 13 years of consistent stuff, a little bit
Almost
of a
600
break.
shows.
Yeah, a little bit of a break ain't gonna kill anybody.
No,
So,
and
um,
take as long.
yeah,
I love your show. I know Mike does too. You guys are
mhm.
simply like it's been one of those staple. I love hearing it. So I just had to ask because
Yep.
I hope to hear you guys again because again I love it. I love maybe get like the intern Lucas to edit all the shows. Push more
Uh,
work on him. He
I mean,
said it last time he would do it, right, Mike?
he said he would do some stuff, but it also becomes of what we're willing to dump on Lucas, especially because he's heading into a busy time in his own life with getting engaged and having, I guess, more baby snakes than he knows what to do with. So um, we'll see how it ends up coming about. We kind of tried to keep it as non-stressful as possible on everybody involved, but we'll figure it out. Uh, I know we were talking to Hank Malt about coming on to talk for herp history, being that he's probably the reason most of the Australian
He's
species are
still
in.
alive.
Yeah, I was shocked by
He's.
that
I
too.
thought. I thought everybody said he was dead.
Nope, Keith pulled that one out of his hat, and he's like, "Hank said you might come on." I'm like, "Well, all right." So, try to get that kind of stuff going, but we have discussed it, and we have tried to come back. I think twice now, and it just something came up, something got bogged down. So, we shall see.
Yeah,
So
I was really looking forward to that Angolan episode because I was actually on a road trip then. But then it was fine. It's always good to hear you guys. And
Yeah,
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 I think with like us, it's like even if you guys did it like no matter when if you guys put out a show, we're gonna listen no matter what. So it doesn't really matter.
I mean, that would be the ideal part. It's just finding what works best and figuring out, because I mean, there have been numerous shows that have come and gone since we've been doing NPR, and a lot of it is like, life gets in the way, kids, marriage, stuff like that, financial issues, all that kind of stuff stops a host from putting out a show. And this is just the first time in the 13-year career for NPR that we've hit that. So we'll work our way through it and hopefully come back out the other side of it. And we'll see what's up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Do you want to start some?
Do we want to?
There, go for it.
Yeah. I think maybe we should switch maybe to some herping.
Okay.
Because obviously, like, maybe you don't get out as much as Rob in that, but that's because like it's hard to take time off work, and Rob Stone is a maniac.
Rob Stone's a maniac, and it doesn't help that you live in rattlesnake country. Like, all right, if I go looking for rattlesnakes here, I'm going to find timbers. That's it. That's all I got. Like, when Justin and Rob are like, oh, we took a wonderful lunch jaunt and found 3 species of rattlesnake. It's like, well, what the hell? So, and they have that magical list of theirs where I am like currently losing at like 8 species because I didn't go on the right trip to Arizona or the right trip to Texas where they found them all. When I went, all we found was an Atrox. Like, it's okay. But,
still pretty cool to be in those spots.
I mean, yeah, okay.
I'd still love to go to. I still really want to go to West Texas and Arizona and just be there. Like, I could find one Atrox or just like a Sonoran gopher or something, and it'd be like, that's cool. But at least I got to see it. But you do get to see some stuff,
right? And also, like, what annoys me most is that I've not been on the trips where they find sidewinders or blacktail rattlesnakes, and I'm like, God damn it, those are the ones I want. Like, those are my dream ones. And then, of course, they went into the Grand Canyon to get that one, and I'm like, well, shit, I have to either do that by myself or never get that one. So there's a lot of that, but I'm happy each time they go and they crush it. It's more mad at myself that I'm not there with them. But I enjoy the trips, even just going out to the Pine Barrens out here in Jersey and finding toads and a black racer, going out to PA and finding timbers and all that stuff is on a same level as going out to Australia where we went to that whole stuff. It's going out and seeing it because it might not be here the next time you get a chance. There's a lot of development. There's a lot of stuff. We had a spot at a park in Delaware for copperhead, and we went there this past couple months ago, and they're building paths. So they have a bunch of heavy machinery right where you would look for the copperheads. They even have signs up that like these are where copperheads are. Not a single one can be found because they don't want to listen to that all the time. They got the hell out of there. So it's crummy, but I enjoy going out and finding the stuff. I enjoy going out with my friends. I enjoy walking around, hiking. Even if it hurts like shit the next day, it was like you got out, you went and found something. Even if it was a toad, who cares? You went and found a toad. Like, it's fun. And then we were talking about the trip to Australia the day, me, Eric, Keith, and Rob, where it's like you can reminisce about that. I'm going to have that in my brain for the rest of my life, of walking around that park and finding the Owen belly python and just having that moment like that'll I'll be drooling in an old person's home and still talking about that.
That moment in that just super awesome trip that had different aspects to it as well, right? With Eric losing his phone and everything.
Yes, there was the whole story is perfect. Like, the whole thing is, you wouldn't, on the outside of it, it's like, that's not fucking real. Like, you staged that. Like, that's not, there's no chance in hell this was all the plan. But living it was like, well, shit, I guess we'll do this, and oh my God, we'll do that. But then looking back at it, it's like we only found the children's python and the blackhead because we had been delayed and because we were looking for Eric's phone on this mountain, we left that park late. And because we did that, that's when we found them driving on the road, and then going back is when we found the Owen Pelly python. It's like there's those aspects of it. It's like you had to be in the right place, right time, right situation. But I would say that if you're on the fence about traveling for herping, I would say do it as much as you can while you can. Because again, the spaces may not be there, and also we're not here forever. And I would say definitely herp your backyard, because you kind of take the animals that are nearby for granted. Um, there's a bunch of quarry. I live close to a quarry, and there's development where they're expanding the quarry there. Apparently, they've upset a den of copperheads that was 4 blocks from my house. Now, I knew they were there, and I've gone there to try to find them once or twice, but I never found them. But now they could be gone. And that was my chance to check out copperheads 2 blocks from my house. And now it's out of here. So, and also I know that, at least us in the US, it's like we take things like rattlesnakes for granted. They're a really cool species that, aren't a lot of other places. Like I know other places got vipers and things like that, but if we have rattlesnakes, like that's awesome. They're an awesome animal.
Yeah, I think we do too, because like even
They're
like
the
some people, yeah, like Dominic has in Massasaugas, which are not obviously not where he is exactly,
they're extremely
but
endangered, extremely hard to find, and what we have in Canada is very small. It's like the Georgian Bay. There's these very few areas you can go find them, and it is 6+ hour driving for me, so not that close to my backyard.
Seeing a lot of pictures of them, though. It seems like a lot of people find them out because that's like cottage country or something, right?
We had to drive 4 hours because there's a small population of eastern Massasauga in Pennsylvania, but it's out west. So we had to drive 4 hours and wander around a park that had them. And I think one of the only reasons we found them is we were on there the same day as a college herp trip. And they were allowed to go places that we weren't, but the park ranger let us join the herp classroom. So it's, if you can plan it. If you can do it. And you know what? Even if you don't find your target species, you can still find something cool. Because I know we were out there and we found a bunch of stuff. So.
Yeah, that sounded like a fun trip, honestly. Just because you guys finally hit the pine snake too, like that'd be insane.
Yeah, that was a whole different thing. Yeah, that was a whole different side. It's like 4 or 5 hours out to Pittsburgh, and then it was like back here, and then like another hour or two to Jersey. We were out of this tri-state, and then we went to Delaware. So it was like, it was a tri-state. We literally bounced between 3 states to go looking for stuff. It was just fun to do, and it's a good decompress thing of being able to be with your friends, but then also just go out into the bush and just wander around and just kind of take the day. So,
yeah, I really enjoy herping out here in BC because the interior is where we find our northern Pacific rattlesnakes, and the terrain's like there's like less deserty, more like longleaf pine, like a little like sagebrush land. So like a little bit more mountainous than some of the, if you go into Washington or Oregon, they got like kind of like the big flat open Great Basin area. And it's just nice to be able to hike, and then you find rubber boas and stuff, and road cruising is actually pretty good. And then just like, they're so underrated because people are, it's just another Norpac, but like Norpacs are like green. Like they're like, just the colors on them are super neat. And then seeing the prairies out in Alberta this year was super cool. Because southern Alberta has a lot of bulls and prairies, and I can now see how they look like the midget faded rattlesnakes and the one and the lutosis as well. Like you can kind of, when you see one in person, you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of like orange, and it has that same like structure as these species. So it's kind of cool to see how they like fit in the, or they probably used to fit in the. I think they were in the same complex. Obviously, they're now all different species, but yeah, it was definitely. It's always fun to get out there and do a trip with friends. Like when I went to Alberta, I hung out went to Cornell's World where my buddy Greg has his cage building shop, and then went down to my other buddy's place in Medicine Hat and got to go to his reptile shop, and then also go herping with him and his kid. And that was super fun to catch some like 6 foot long bull snakes that were 3 of them at the same time coming out of the burrow. It was super neat. It's always fun.
I think it's anything, like, even if you go and you strike out, it's still good to just go.
Go see a new place. You just get away from the day your daily kind of grind in life too.
I've been to places like I traveled and stuff, but I've been to more places because of a herping trip than I ever thought that I would ever set foot in. Like we drove from Denver to West Texas. And at one point you're looking around and there's like little green men all over everything. And you're like, where the hell am I? And you're like, oh, it's Roswell, New Mexico. Oh, okay. I mean, I guess I would never have made a trip to here, but now that I'm here, okay, cool. All right. I can say I've been here. It's like that kind of stuff. And being out in West Texas, Arizona, even out into like Poconos of Pennsylvania and then Australia. It's awesome. It's fun to do. So I'll take the excuse.
You ever plan to return to Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plan was for 2025 to do the Kimberley. But Rob's daughter is graduating high school. So there's college visits and a bunch of other stuff. So we pushed it to 2026. So potentially in October 2026, we're going to go out and do the Kimberley, which would be Ruffy territory. So we'll see about that.
That's going to be an awesome trip.
Well, we'll see, because it's one of those, like, we're going to shoot for 2026 and then we have to try to plan it. We have to try to figure it out. We got to see who's going, what's happening. Timing wise, if it's going to be viable, it's.
Are you going to try to link up maybe with somebody who's done it? Because you obviously have to go like really remote for that. Like that sounds like almost like you should link up with Matt Somerville during one of his.
Yeah,
that would be a good. That'd be a good.
I think there was a plan for that. Unlike other herping trips where it was like we went places and then came back to a B&B, this might be one where we are camping and you're camping out.
You're going to have to bring your videographer with you to
some kind of gear or
do
something.
A Mark O'Shea episode out there.
Yeah,
Mark might even be up for it. That'd be a cool trip.
Either one I would take. Obviously when we went out for the Owen Pellies, we hung out with Gavin, which is cool to have a link with that, with all that stuff. So it would be nice to have that kind of a same thing with a Ruffy. I don't know. I mean, I'd like for 2026 to be it. I'd like to go to Australia again. But then I want to go. I want to go Africa. I want to check out Africa Safari, not just the snakes and reptiles of Africa, but like, we're talking the big fauna and stuff like that would be cool. I'd like to do New Zealand at one point, and then they have cruises that'll take you down to Antarctica and you can like kick a penguin. So, maybe we'll do that too at some point. But I think that would
there's some cool geckos in New Zealand.
Yeah, that would be fun.
They have a bunch of cool geckos there.
Mm-hmm.
For Australia, I did Australia, but I didn't do Australia for herping. I actually did Australia for scuba diving. And as much as I loved my experience, I miss not doing it for the snakes, but I did the Great Barrier Reef. I was 6 days in the middle of the ocean on a live-aboard boat. It was incredible. It was one of those things where sometimes going for more than snakes in a place, like you're saying, going for a safari, you're going to see probably the big five, but, even if you don't see a snake, it's going to be incredible.
That was the thing about Australia is I was the one who was jumping up and down for the ruse and the echidna that we found.
That'd be cool.
and then we drove by a couple dingoes and stuff too. So I was enjoying all that, and then explaining what the hell we were looking at, the giant fruit bats and stuff. So I was enjoying
Oh, they're
every
everywhere, eh?
aspect.
And they're
Oh
huge. They're
yeah,
like the size of a
yeah.
cat upside down. I couldn't
It,
believe
it
it.
was. I thought there were just a bunch of trash bags caught in a
Uh,
tree when we went to like the supermarket and we're leaving. And I'm like, what the hell is that
I'm trying
noise?
to think. Which
I'm like,
city did you see them in?
Darwin.
Uh, yeah, I did see Dar. What's the other city? It's about 100,000. Uh, God, little to the, is it east or the other? God damn it, I'm gonna have to think about it. Anyway,
I'm not
they
sure.
Are you
were
thinking Brisbane or
no, a little bit higher
Cairns?
up, more of
Probably
Cans. There
Cairns.
you go. Cans. Like every tree had thousands
Yep.
of them in it, and like the tree,
Yep.
all you could see was these big black, like their wingspan is 5 6 feet wide. It's insane. They were cool.
They,
That was
they
pretty cool.
they were awesome.
You didn't want to
It
walk
was
under the tree because it wasn't safe.
well.
You'd get
That's what. So I remember we exited the supermarket after we had like gotten like water and food and stuff like that, and there was a woman walking underneath the tree that the bats were in, and
Oh,
she was an Aboriginal. She didn't give a shit. She was just walking underneath them, and the bats were making a bunch of noise. And I remember hearing the noise and be like, "What the hell is that?" Because I saw this tree when we were going in, and I saw the black, and I thought they were just trash bags caught in a tree or something. I don't know why my mind made that link because it doesn't make any sense why there'd be that many damn trash bags in a tree. But whatever. So I remember seeing that, hearing the noise, checking them, and watching one bat just kind of open and kind of shuffle and then close the wings again. And I was like, those are the freaking flying foxes. Like those are bats. And I think I was saying that to Rob, and Rob's like, "Oh yeah," and I'm like, "No, those are bats." Like it's that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
it was fun to watch that.
Did you guys do the saltwater crocs when went to Darwin?
We did. We went to several places. So there's one place in Darwin. It's got a bunch of YouTube channel stuff of it, where you kind of see these people driving over a concrete kind of road that's kind of
Yeah, I
sunk
think
down
I've
a
seen
little
it.
bit at a dam. And there's crocs all over this dam, and they just kind of drive, and the crocs just kind of jump off in front of them. Um, and I think it's on the other side of that bridge is I think Aboriginal land, so it was like you had to permission to go across. So we didn't drive, but it was also dry when we were there a little bit. So we didn't see any crocs there, but there were signs everywhere that said there are crocs here. And looking down at the water, there were like footprints and slides.
Nice.
What's cool is that there was a puddle and the little mud skippers, like those fish that kind of like walk on their fins and jump up and down. They were there, and any nature show they film them and they look like they're going to be like this freaking big. They're like this small, but I realized what they were, and I got like right down in there into the little voice in my head that said like, you are this close to the goddamn river, okay? And it was, so we didn't see them. We went to Fog Dam and we kind of shined lights, and we did see some eyes way in the distance, but nothing up close, except for like some signs of croc slides and steps in the mud. But we did go to Crocosaurus Cove, where Eric and I did that like tube.
Yeah, I think I saw
Like
that. I
where
went
they
in
down.
there. We went. I did the touristic thing of going
Yeah.
on the Adelaide River and doing the three companies that are allowed to feed the crocodiles and all that kind of stuff. So
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
pretty impressive. And the one thing that surprised me when I was in Darwin is how you're right beside the ocean. You're walking, you can see it, and it's plus 40 degrees Celsius, which whatever that number is in United States land.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a soul in the water. There's not a soul on the beach. Nobody goes near
Nope.
the water, and it is scorching warm. And the ocean is a no-go zone. It always yeah, that was like the really big thing, and that humidity. I don't know. I miss it, man. That's one of the. I'd love to go back one day.
That was the one thing is we got off the plane and I was wearing jeans and a t-shirt and a hat and stuff on the plane, and we get to the first spot we're stopping, and I'm like, I need to change out of these goddamn pants. I'm dying. And so I swap out in the car, and then I'm walking around in shorts and stuff like that, and they're all kind of checking stuff out. There's little lizards and stuff walking around, And I'm like, I got to put my hand in the ocean because this is the Indian Ocean. I've never done this. Like I've done Atlantic, Pacific. Like this is a whole different one. So I go down and I kind of like put my toes in the water and step into it. And then it was this whole thing of right. This is probably a bad idea. Like this is another one of those, like you're this close to the goddamn water. Like it was like that, but it was like that's enough. I've done it. Like we can kind of step back and walk over, and it was like okay. There were a couple moments of that with like walking through brush without a care in the world, and then going to Crocosaurus Cove and seeing that the brush you've been walking through is what they've used to help the Death Adder that they have in captivity blend in and disappears to show off his camouflage. I'm like, oh, so I was potentially stepping over God knows how many Death Adders. Okay, cool. So that kind of stuff. But all in all, a fun trip, and I do wish I could go back, but I'm also enjoying the herping of the U.S.
Fair enough. Perfect. Well, Michael, do you have any more questions before we slowly close this out?
Well, there's always an endless amount of questions, but I think for this show, it's been awesome to have you on, Owen.
Yeah,
it's really cool to talk to you for the first time as a longtime listener of NPR. It was like the first podcast that I ever got into back in, I was in grade 12 in 2020, or no, it was probably grade 11, 2018 that I started listening, and now I haven't stopped.
You have a way of making me feel
like it was my re-entry into herps after having my sand boas since I was 10. But then I went through stuff, and then I came back, and I got some Bolivian boas, and then started listening to NPR, and then it went downhill from there.
It's a weird experience to be like, at one point I was the dumb kid, like at 20 something running around with all these other guys who were into carpets. And I'm like, I have a yellow one. Like, okay. Like, so, and it's weird when people, because I believe there were like 3 or 4 people at the show that said they listened. And, obviously I appreciate that. And it's weird thinking on this side of it that, we have been doing it for 13 years. So if you started listening, you're not 13 years into the hobby. It's like, oh, okay. Like, so I know it sounds like I have everything figured out and I know what the hell I'm doing. Absolutely not. Like it is, dear God, no. I'm over here chasing cars. Like it's, it's fun to be a part of other people's kind of reptile journey, but I am no expert, and I never claimed to be. So, but it's cool.
Well, we thank you for your 13 years of show, man. Honestly, it's it really has made a big impact on the hobby, and it really it made a big impact on me. It made a big impact on many others, and it is appreciated. Owen, if anybody wants to reach out to you, if anybody wants to, ask you how to breed white lips or anything else of the 77 species you've bred.
Carpets for the 15th year in a row.
15th year in a row. Yeah, let's do another breeding episode.
Hey, I did the breeding episode with you guys.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. That's why we had to spice it up, because Eric was like, "We're going to do it again."
It took 2 episodes to do it too.
Yeah, how many more ways are we going to skin this cat? Like, but I get it and I appreciate it. So it's the for me it would be rogue-reptiles.com, or I believe it's rogue_reptiles or just rogue reptiles on Instagram and Facebook. My logo is a black flag with a white snake. If you see that, you found the right place. Currently, I don't really have too much. I got cleaned out by a bunch of friends of mine who are taking my animals get a wonderful trip to Florida. I don't get to go. They do. But so that's going to be that. But I'm already gearing up for next year. Plus, I have a bunch of stuff that's starting to feed right now and get going. So expect more stuff soon. And the best way to kind of keep up with the date on potential babies and pairings is just to go give a follow over on the Instagram. And yeah.
Beautiful. For Michael Gillian on Facebook. For myself, Dom's Reptiles on Instagram, Dominic Carbonneau on Facebook. I guess I never said it ever before, but I definitely have a lot of babies for sale. Carpet pythons, reach out. I think we have a couple of Angolans left, a couple of pygmies, but they won't be ready for 6+ months. And yeah, reach out to me. If anybody's listening to it on Spotify or any other podcast, please click that little like button or anything that helps us on YouTube. Subscribe, all those fun things. Any of those things help. And to everybody, thank you for joining Reptile Rejects. Appreciate it. Owen, again,
Sure.
huge thank you for
Totally.
joining us, and have a good night, everybody.